Hey guys, and welcome to the Indie Game Culture Podcast, a podcast about indie games. I'm your host, Cal. I'm here with Melika and JT, and we are going to be talking about indie games as we normally do. Just the usual little ramble of admin before. Do you know about indiegameculture.com? You should. If you're here, you should know about it. We have a website, we do reviews, we do news, we do guides, we do everything you would want. And we also have some new stuff. We have a new podcast segment that we are going to be doing on a weekly or fortnightly basis. I'm not quite sure yet, but it is the Indie Game Culture News Blast, where we're going to be giving you a roundup of indie game culture news throughout a week or a fortnight period. And as well as that, we have YouTube, we have all sorts of things. Just go and look at the website and everything will branch out from there. But we talk about indie games in this podcast. We're going to do that. But before that, how is everyone?
I mean, I'm good. I've been very, very busy these last couple of weeks. I had Gamescom in Germany, which was very exciting. I'll definitely be talking about quite a bit today, especially in the games to look forward to part of the thing. So yeah, that was pretty intense. It was so crazy though, because we flew out. I arrived at 6 p.m. on the Wednesday and then flew back out again at 7 a.m. on the Friday. So I was there for less than 48 hours. It was just so intense, but it was very, very cool.
It seemed like a very intense flying visit.
Oh, yes.
And how was the overall experience being like behind the booth?
Yeah, it was really cool because the what I went out there for was the Xbox After Hours event, which is sort of a very exclusive. Very few people went. I don't know exactly how many. I'm really bad at judging numbers, but I would say probably about 1,000, if that. For the Xbox event. So, and a lot of people there were going for the sort of bigger name games, which meant because they had the Idea Xbox booth, because they were celebrating 20 years of that, which is their independent sort of in-house publishing thing for indie games. And there was like so many playable games in there that had next to no queues. So I got to try out plenty of stuff. Although I was annoyed because there was the opportunity to meet Phil Spencer, but I didn't realize it because it wasn't signposted. So I missed out on the chance to meet him. It's kind of gutted. Well, so those of you who don't know, Phil's the head of Xbox, so it would have been a big deal, but alas. I also didn't realize that the burger place had vegan burgers until it was too late, so I ate nothing but potato wedges. That's the only vegan thing I could find. They were good potato wedges, though, to be fair.
It is a struggle. It definitely is.
Some of those pictures are great. I remember the one you sent with the you got one in like from the spiked baby from the new Little Nightmares game.
Oh yeah, because Little Nightmares is coming, absolutely. That was it was like honestly so huge. That was from the main hall event rather than the Xbox event. But like the size of that inflatable baby, like it was so massive, like easily taller than a house. It was crazy. But like the thing that blew me away about the like Gamescom itself rather than the Xbox event was the sheer size of it. Like I've been to lots of conventions in my time. I have never been A, to a place that big, but B, to a place that packed. And I went on the Thursday, so I cannot even begin to imagine how many people were there on the Saturday. And I was actually looking this up the other day. So over the course of the weekend, they had 320,000 guests in that one convention. So like it was so packed. The people just everywhere. It was so crazy. Really, really busy.
For those that aren't aware of the Little Nightmares baby, go and watch the trailer for that now and then picture that to scale in the room. So
yeah, it was humongous.
I already brought up the picture from the thing for all of our visual viewers on YouTube, so you can see it.
There you go. Production value.
How about you guys? What you guys been up to?
Yeah, so I haven't been up to much. My main story is that I'm a little bit hungover from yesterday. I was watching the football and we got the result we wanted, and I got a little bit excited about that, and I'm suffering today, but I'm over the hump, so I'm more than capable of chatting games. And I suppose another little tiny bit of news, because you can literally see it in the background. I got this old relic.
Right.
I got like an old CRT TV, but I can play old retro games on and not have to put on like a crappy CRT filter. It literally is a CRT TV.
I remember when you said that in the Slack, I was like, of course you did it. You went and did it.
It's a very me thing to do. Now, my main issue with it is, and well, it's more Ella's than mine, it is definitely a fire hazard. It is 100% a fire hazard because it's so old. But you know what? If it goes on fire, then that's it. It's ran its course. You got to roll the dice sometimes.
So do those things catch fire? Like,
it's an electronic and it's like 20 years old. So
I'm guessing it gets very hot.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's naturally a fire hazard when it gets that old.
Oh no.
But yeah, it is what it is. I'm gonna get my little bit of joy out of it before that happens. What about you, JT? What you been up to?
Well, I'm playing a lot of the new exciting games coming out. Like there's Blasphemous 2, played Sea of Stars, and I know that talk about the next segment, but so mostly that and celebrating in the U.S. Labor Day weekend with a visiting parent, and we went on a kind of harrowing ride the other day where we ended up having to carry our bikes up a hiking trail for about a mile or two, which was not the best, but it was a good little experience. And a friend of mine had a subathon on Twitch, which is basically a thing where you try to get a bunch of subscribers by doing kind of zany stuff, and it ended up being a 12-hour stream for him, and I joined in for 5 hours of it, and there was some alcohol was consumed, so things got a little bit wild, but it was a fairly fun time. So yeah, it's been good.
It's been good, but you know what's better? Games.
Oh yes.
So we're moving on to our first section, which is indie games that we have been playing. I've been playing mainly one game, and I finally moved on to some others, but I'll let you guys start. So who wants to jump in?
I'm going to jump in on the basis that I've only been playing one game, and it's the game that you've been playing. Like, I have still been playing Slay the Spire, but I talked about that last episode, so if you're curious, go watch our previous episode. But Sea of Stars was finally released, and yeah, I get why Cal's so hyped about it. It is really, really awesome. Like, I've never been like huge into that style of RPG games. Like I like them, but I've always found a lot of the time either the story's lacking or it's too story heavy, not enough gameplay, or the combat's really boring. Sea of Stars is none of that. It's amazing. It's such a great balance of like different ways to move around. You've got like even though you don't really jump, you can like climb over things, so it doesn't feel as static as just going on a 2D plane. And the thing that really stands out for me is the combat. It's really cool. So you've got like various skills you can use, that's sort of like magic based. You've got attacks, you've got combo moves where you can like sort of earn up your combo bar by attacking enemies, and then you join with your party mates to create like a special attack that does a special ability. But you can also, as well as just using those attacks, there's timing involved. So if you time it just right, you can get extra boosts, and then you can disrupt enemy attacks by using different types of moves, and you have to like gain back your mana points. And like it's at that sweet spot where it's not so complicated. It's like, oh, let's get it over with already, but it's not so, oh, just pressing attack over and over again. Like there's such a good balance, and even during the regular attacks, because it's got those timing elements, it just makes it so more involved and so much more immersive. I love the story. I love the characters. Yeah, I completely get why Cal's so enamored with it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, well, I can finally talk about it because the embargo's up, and I was not able to say this at the time, but it was something that I was kind of tugging away at me because I was in the position where I have to give this a 10. I've never given a 10 for a review ever in my entire career. It's the first one I've ever given, and I stand by it. I wasn't out on my own because whenever it came out for the reviews, there was quite a lot of 10s. I think it's sitting on a 91% on Metacritic, so it's doing very, very well across the board, and it's a staggeringly good game. Like, it's not just a bootleg Chrono Trigger or Ocean Heart, like I think it got compared to that as well. Breath of Fire as well. Like it's all of those things. It takes like little nuggets and makes those things better. So you've got things from like, if you think back to Super Mario RPG where you have the timed attacks, and if you kind of like, the way I compared it in the review is like, you know, whenever you try to catch a Pokemon, well, you won't, JT. But
No.
I caught myself there. But whenever you like throw a Pokeball, like whenever you were a kid, you pressed A and that locked it in.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to press A, and then when it wobbles, that's how you do it. That's how you catch it.
No, in the Pokemon games, that was literally just a myth. But in this game, it actually is a thing, and it helps your attacks and gives you your mana back and stuff. It's really good.
Quick add on to that is what I really like about the game as well is the relics you can get. So these will like adjust the gameplay, and they're almost like accessibility measures in a way. Yeah. So with the relics, you can turn them on or off, and it will affect the gameplay. So there's one that can make it easier by giving you more HP and better HP recovery. There's one that I really like, which shows you when you've got the timed attack. It will send a star up, so you can sort of see if you've done it, and it makes it so much easier to like get used to the timings for the attacks because you always have that sort of visual feedback. And yeah, I think that's such a cool addition to it. Also, the fact that I was initially really annoyed about the fact that you can't see enemy HP. And I was like, oh, this is so stupid. And then, of course, the game gives you something. It's like, here you go, equip this. Now you can see the enemy HP. It's like, you thought of everything.
Yeah. They got absolutely everything right, and like all the new additions were really good. But it's also the old stuff that they've added in that is very Chrono Trigger. Like instead of the whole like battle animation, then the screen to black, and then you're in the battle kind of scene. It's all seamless, and you kind of just jump straight into the battle like it happened in Chrono Trigger. But
It's
obviously,
like surround you.
it's much more seamless because this is a more modern game. And the thing that I found most staggering of all of it was probably the dynamic lighting that they have in the game. Like,
Yeah, it looks
it
good.
doesn't really feel like a retro JRPG because like it's almost like they've put ray tracing into a 16-bit pixel art game. It makes no sense how they've done it, but like they've done it seamlessly, and you've got that day-night cycle where you control it and you can basically make it any time of day you want to just change the vibe if you want, which is great. I had so few criticisms of it.
I have one.
Oh, okay.
And it calls back to the episode about our pet peeves in games. It's got that annoying thing with the sound effects when the words are coming on the screen. It's like, it's got the annoying sound effect noise I hate.
But I sent a picture into the chat a couple of weeks ago, and I said you can actually turn that off in the settings.
Oh,
so they thought of everything.
I didn't think to check that. That's brilliant. Okay, I'm going to do that then.
it's literally called like dialogue mumble or something, so they know exactly what you're on about.
Yeah, there you go.
They thought of everything.
But at least I've got an illustration now of exactly what I meant when I was saying that.
There you go. But like the only criticism I had of it was the initial kind of hour. It starts very slow to the point where if I was ever going to replay the game, I'd be like, I'll have to get through that first hour. After that, like no complaints. And I don't think I could really.
I quite liked it on the first time through though, because I think it was really good to get that extra lore. Because I love how it starts you at something, then shows you the backstory, and then throws you back to where you were. I thought that was really clever.
I just like the storytelling. It seemed really adorable. It's like, oh, this is so sweet. And but I imagine like if later playthrough, I would want to get through it fairly fast.
And at what points are you two at? Because I've platinum.
I haven't had much time. I've only been playing for a couple of hours at this point, but I'm loving it so far.
Okay, Melika, have you gone to the part where the other party member gets reintroduced?
Yeah, okay. I was so happy. I got that earlier.
Scene.
It makes me so happy and warm inside.
Can I like say I don't think this is a spoiler for that from the beginning, but that scene, is it okay to discuss about that in this podcast? Do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I think let's let our viewers have that moment.
Okay,
I reckon.
I love the setup for that where it's like it's happy and then it's kind of like the somber moment of reality. Then it's back to like happy again. Like I'm just shouting that moment.
It's really good with the emotions and stuff. I think the characterization is really excellent, which is often a miss in my opinion in RPG games that don't bother with characterization. Whereas in this game, I think they've done a really good job, and it's kind of like a power of friendship fun but not cheesy. Like I think it works for what they got. Like it's cliche, but it's not cheesy. It works.
That's the other thing I said in the review. Like it's exactly what I expected. Through the power of friendship, you fight God. That's what always happens. You come to expect that, but they do it well.
Yeah, they do it really well.
I'm not someone that really gets suckered into the whole emotional side of video games for the most part, unless it's something like very, very poignant. But I really loved all the side characters. Like the protagonists are your typical like hero archetypes, which are a bit dull, but they're just there to kind of be the protagonist. They don't have any sort of role in the story really outside of being the hero, which is fine. But
I like them.
They're kind of plain Jane, which is fine.
I still like it.
It's the side characters.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh yeah. Like it's not a huge criticism, but it's the side characters that really carry the game. Like I love Garl. I think Garl's amazing. He's so good.
So great.
Love him.
He is. Sea of Stars is. I can't see any other game topping it for my game of the year, and
I can see why.
I could not find fault with it, and you know me, I really try.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working with Cal for a while. He is very, very critical most of the time in his reviews. So a 10 from him is like a huge deal.
That's very high praise.
I've reviewed games that most people have gave 10s across the board. Like I think I gave Elden Ring a 9.5, and there's a couple of other ones that people were like, "That's a 10." I'm like, "No, it's not." but this one definitely is. I could not look past it. It's sublime. Like there's nothing more I could ask for. it's one of those games where I looked into the backstory of it, and I followed the Kickstarter. I didn't invest at
Oh,
the time.
really?
No,
I didn't know it was a Kickstarter.
Oh, it was a very successful Kickstarter.
I can
think they
imagine.
got 1.2 million or something like that.
Wow.
So they had a lot to work with, which is why I think the game is as long as it is, which is great.
Yeah.
But, I followed it right from that, played the demo. I was so invested in the game, and every time I've ever done that, the games came out and I went, oh,
Yeah.
that was bad. I built it up to this level of expectation where it could never hit the mark, and on this one rare occasion, it absolutely hit the mark, which is so rare. That's great.
No, I first heard of it not that long ago, actually. It's only a few months ago. It's during one of the Xbox showcases that I saw it, and I was like, ooh, I like the look of that one. But yeah, I hadn't had that sort of long journey with it that you did.
Yeah, I knew of it because it's one of those things, like, you don't really get any like traditional JRPGs anymore. They're kind of like a very modern take on it and changing things up. Like the last one that I played that I really enjoyed is probably Persona 5, which is vastly different.
I didn't like Persona 5 that much. I really tried. Oh, I've only played Persona 5 Royale. Is that basically the same, or?
Royale's probably the better of the two. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's a very modern take in the JRPG, and it's quite surreal, and it's one of those. You either like it or you don't. But they don't really make traditional JRPGs anymore.
Did you play Ruinverse?
Played what one?
Ruinverse.
Ruinverse? No.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. It's like I started playing it and I got a bit bored, just because it wasn't quite enough story and gameplay to hook it. But that had kind of like a traditional JRPG feel to it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will look into that.
Yeah.
Not an indie game per se, but a friend got me into some of the Xenoblade games, and I can see some of the appeal in it. It's like a very different kind of game, but God, it takes a lot more patience and time to get into some of those. Like, you have to really approach it from a different angle. So
I think I'm just nostalgic for like that 90s golden era of JRPGs.
I mean,
that
you're
was
a nostalgia man with the CRT TV behind you.
Well, that's it. I was trying to think to myself whenever I was considering the 10, am I looking at this with rose-tinted glasses and just going, the nostalgia's taking over? And I was like, to an extent, absolutely. But like,
it is great. Because that's what I thought you were doing to an extent, to be honest. But then I played, I was like, oh no, Cal's right. I was like, oh man, I have to admit he's right about something.
That feels good.
Also, I want to ask,
don't get used to it.
how many times were you guys able to get the like the Moonlight Crescent things? It's like the
I think I've done about 6 or 7 bounces so far. I'm slowly getting the hang of it. It took me a while to get any though. Like at first I was like, how do you do this? But then you have to like time it between the bounce between the monster and you, about sort of halfway roughly.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
it took me ages to get used to it.
As I've platinumed the game, I'll just tell you, you get a trophy for bouncing
20,
25.
right? Yeah.
Right, I saw that in the achievements, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
that's
It's like there's like all secret achievements except for like 5 of them. So I'm intrigued to find the rest. I still haven't got any achievements for it yet. No, I got one. I got for beating the first boss.
There you go.
Hey.
If I was going to have one criticism, and it's a purely me criticism, it's that I was playing
achievements.
No, I was playing it before the embargo, and that means before the trophy list is out.
Yeah.
And there's one trophy where you have to have a certain relic on that you get quite late into the game, and it meant I had to do 8 hours of New Game Plus, which was annoying.
Oh no.
But it wasn't even 8 hours. I kind of bombed through it, so I got to like the Autumn Hills area, which is like the third, fourth island you do, and I think I got that done in like 4 hours because I just skipped all the dialogue.
Yeah, no,
I'm very impressed with you platinum it, to be honest. Like that is a big feat.
Especially the fact that it was like 99% done before the game even came out, which was that it was purely down to like a big shout out to Murillo, who was doing the guides alongside me. His notes were pristine. There were some things I couldn't even get because like there are some chests, like for example, there's a chest in the Necromancer's lair, and it's through this like pile of bones, but there's a pathway to it, and no player will naturally go and find that path unless it's by accident.
I do explore absolutely anything that's possibly open to me.
I know, but it doesn't look like it just looks like a texture that they've added to kind of like make the room. And
I sometimes just walk into walls just to double check there's not secret hidden passageways.
Well, then you'll probably find it.
Hollow Knight got me prepared that not every wall is a wall. So.
Is it kind of like that Stardew Valley thing where like there's an invisible wall here, but you would never like think to go past it, kind of like on
Yeah,
Pelican Island or those islands in the like after the community center.
yeah, it's the same sort of thing where you wouldn't do it naturally unless you like read a guide and they said do that.
Oh,
So there's plenty of little things like that whenever you're getting all the 100% stuff. Because there's another thing, like the game is, I kind of praised it because this was a purely nostalgic thing. It's not very good at guiding you through the end game content. It kind of leaves it shrouded in mystery and you kind of find it yourself. But
Okay.
I kind of harkened that back to, it's like you being on the playground and hearing it through a friend and then going, oh, I need to go home and try that. So I kind of praised it anyway. But like the end game stuff isn't very well like telegraphed. So without a guide, it was a little bit tricky. But Merla was basically my guide.
I'm just gonna when I get to that point, let's go on the Indie Game Culture website and look at all the guides for it.
Yeah, we got through everything that you need.
Nice.
But yeah, JT, do you have any like things you want to say specifically?
Heck, I mean, I really love the introduction to it. I haven't gone as far. Like they brought Garl back in, and they're in the cloudy region area, and they're introducing the new mechanics. And I just love that blend of like, this is some of the best turn-based combat I've ever played through, just because they have those moments where like you have some like user input, so it's not just like waiting for them to do attacks. Like having that involvement is really important, I think. And that combined with the story and the visuals, it's phenomenal. And also I love the gameplay for the puzzles. It feels really good.
I just remembered. Oh yeah, go first, Cal.
I was going to say they just hit the sweet spot on everything. Like it's perfectly paced, so it's not difficult, but it's got enough challenge where you feel like I'm getting all those little aha moments without actually being tested all that much. Combat is just a hint of challenge, but you feel clever whenever you nail it, but it's not actually all that complex. So it's that perfect balance. Puzzles are the same thing. Nothing's really all that taxing, but you still feel good when you do it. Even like the movement and the basic things, it feels like someone sat down and went, right, how can we make this feel as good as possible?
Yeah.
To the point where you're like literally just jumping off a ledge and you're like, oh, that was really smooth. I like that.
It's very satisfying for sure. No, I remembered what the turn-based combat reminds me of, and it's Costume Quest 2, because that's another one where you can like time it just right with the attacks and like cycle through your characters and stuff. And
we've all played Costume Quest 2.
It's right. I know you probably haven't, but it's really genuinely great. I don't seriously, especially around Halloween. It's great for people who want like a Halloween feel without a scary game, because basically you're going around collecting different Halloween costumes and like you trade stuff using candy. The Costume Quest 1 is good, but Costume Quest 2 is fantastic. Seriously.
I was literally going to say I would be lost because I haven't played Costume Quest 1.
No. It's what it, like it gives you enough of a background at the start of Costume Quest 2 to catch you up on what you missed on Costume Quest 1.
There's literally a follow-on. I would need to actually play Costume Quest 1.
You don't need to play Costume Quest 1, but you'd get more out of the game if you did, because you're like, aha, I remember that character from the first game. It's so good though, and it has got that thing with the combat where you can like press A at just the right time to time your attacks or to defend your attacks and stuff, and cycle through your different powers. It's other than that, the gameplay is very, very different to Sea of Stars, but the combat in its own way is quite similar.
All right.
And I will just like, no spoilers. Obviously, you two are still working your way through it.
Yeah.
Just be prepared for something.
Oh,
that's all.
Oh no.
There's not spiders, are there, Cal?
Not horror. Just be prepared for something.
So there's some heartbreak ahead. Potentially.
If anything happens to Garl, I will be so angry right now because I love him. He's my main man. I love Garl.
This is the other one.
He's literally the star of the show. Everyone else cannot even compare.
Like, he's my boy. He's my warrior cook. Like, what else could you want from a guy? It's brilliant.
Oh, do you know another thing I want to praise about it? Wheels. Have you played Wheels yet?
I haven't gotten there yet.
No, not yet.
JT, if you're on the Cloud Kingdom, surely you've played a game of Wheels. It's like the in-game game for Sea of Stars, like Gwent and all that.
I haven't played that yet, but I'm excited for it. I love in-game games.
I played the fishing game of it. I think
I haven't got fishing yet. Okay. I'm probably about to get it soon, I reckon.
I was actually quite sad about the fishing. And like it's good. It's a really fun fishing mechanic, but it's kind of like arbitrary in terms of the way you just kind of get fish, and it's not really for anything. But it's really like you can do, but like I mean, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily like need to. It's like just an addition they kind of threw in there. Like we can make a really good fishing game, not for any reason other than to have one, but it's really good. Yeah. But the Wheels minigame is kind of like turn-based combat meets like slot machine, which sounds weird, but it's really
Okay.
good.
Oh.
I like a good slot
open.
machine game. When I was a kid, I used to always spend all my time in Rocket Corner in the Pokemon games, just doing my slots to get my Porygon.
So yeah, I think you'll really like
Getting
it.
kids hooked on gambling, nice and
Oh
young.
my gosh.
If you want to, I don't understand how you've missed it, JT. But if you want to find it, if you go to one
Please.
of the like bars, whenever you get to a certain settlement, every single place that has a bar has a wheels table. So just go seek that out.
Okay, I will. I'm excited. I'll report back
I
my
can
findings.
see the excitement in your eyes, JT. It's beautiful to
Yeah,
behold.
Oh, there's so much more I haven't seen.
You're like lit up.
The game just keeps giving and giving and giving. You're about 20 hours in. You're like, oh my god, they're introducing new things. I thought this was going to be over soon. I was like, great.
Oh, now I'm excited to see what's next.
Oh,
But yeah, other than that, all the ones I played have been demos, so I'm going to save them for the looking forward to section.
That is fine. Well, I can jump in and do the rest of mine because everything else is secondary to Sea of Stars. But I'll do the quick ones. So whenever I finished Sea of Stars, I was broken, crestfallen, didn't know what to do with myself. Like you finish a long series and you're like, my life's empty, don't know what to do anymore. So I started Let's Build a Zoo, which was
Yes! That's such a good game.
it's basically just like Zoo Tycoon, but a little bit more modern.
So pixelated as well.
Yeah, it's just one of those. It's one of those you just kind of let it tick over. One of those idle, not like Cookie Clicker, but not a million miles away from Cookie Clicker either. And it's fine.
Do you have any fun animal mutation mixes?
Oh, they're so ugly, but it's great.
That's
Oh.
so
So you can splice animals, and it's basically just they take the body and the head and they just go and squish it together.
What's
They
the
look
worst
so
thing you've
bad.
made?
It's brilliant.
Yeah, I've only played about 5 hours of it because it got to a stage where everything got a little bit overwhelming, and I was like,
Yeah,
not in the mood for this.
it
But
does get pretty intense.
But I do like that there's a morality system, and you can be like a really irresponsible zoo owner.
I know,
That's
it's like,
also fun.
yeah, I'm going to give my animals to this black market dealer to do who knows what with.
But like it gets really overwhelming, and there's some things I didn't like about like one thing is they don't tell you that like to give your animals contraception like as a tutorial. So I ended up with like 400 rabbits, and I was like, how did I get rid of all these? And you lose morality for donating them. So I ended up selling like 400 rabbits to a black market dealer, and then my morality just went into the minuses. I was like, oh, well, that's not good.
Oh, man.
Amongst other things, like it has this thing where it'll say that the pen's blocked, or there's like some cuts, and
It's like,
never
where?
is.
It's like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, that really irritated me. I was like, if you're going to tell me to do something, make sure there's something there.
Yeah. No, I played it when it first came out, and I played it for a couple of weeks, and I haven't touched it since, because it's one of those games I get like really into and then just forget about.
Oh yeah, you could definitely lose a day. Ella was playing it as well, and she lost like a whole day to it. And then
Yeah,
she's like,
no,
probably
when I
shouldn't
was
do that.
playing it, it was like, wake up, let's build a zoo, sleep. Like, it's one of those games.
So I needed to step away from that, but I'll probably like go
Valid.
back to it at some stage. I couldn't get a trophy guide on it. There isn't one that exists as far as I
Really?
know.
Oh.
So I couldn't figure out how much of a time sink it would be, but I'm thinking the guts of like 40, 50 hours. So I don't know if I'm actually going to do that. So we'll see. But yeah, I'll move on.
Yeah, actually,
So
can
one
I
that I did-
chime in?
Oh, go
I
ahead.
really
You go
love that
ahead.
you mentioned the rabbit bit because it brought me back to a memory of RimWorld, where I was playing that, and that's a survival settlement management sim in space and stuff.
Mhm.
And I'd once made the mistake of domesticating 2 rabbits, and within like 5 days or a month, I had like 300 rabbits like roaming about, and then all my colonists went insane because the place was too dirty. So those rabbits like destroyed my society.
Yeah.
I just love that that's a thing in other games too.
Yeah, I think it's like a joke that they don't tell you about contraception, but it really like it was like an hour of my life trying to fix my zoo. I was like, that's horrible.
You want to know a really gross fun fact about rabbits?
Always.
So when they have their babies, if you don't separate them quickly enough, the babies will start having babies with each other within like 12 days.
Oh gosh,
Yeah, so much incest with rabbits.
Lovely. Well, that
Yeah.
explains why I had that problem in the game.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So I did Let's Build a Zoo, and I maybe will go back to that. I don't know, but another game that I platinumed alongside Sea of Stars. This was the one, basically, that I went. I'm going to buy a game very soon, so I'm going to get myself in the mood for it with this game, which is very janky and not quite as good. So I played Skatebird, which I know Melika was
Oh,
chatting to me off camera about it, and she played it
so
and played
bad.
about 10 minutes and thought it was really janky, which it
It's
absolutely is.
awful. It's one of the worst games I have ever played. I could not get behind the terrible, terrible movement. It's so like you just glitch through everything, and like you don't move in the consistent manner. It's just so poorly developed. And I wanted to like it so much, but I was like, no, I can't get behind this. Like, I love the concept of birds on skateboards. Fully support that. But can't be dealing with the anything else to do with it. It's just so badly made. The fact that you platinumed it shocks me that you stuck with it for that long.
Yeah, it was fine. It's basically like bootleg Tony Hawk's. It's not particularly well made. It's
bootleg Tony Hawk's. It's not even like the step below Tony Hawk's. It's like if someone made a terrible version of Tony Hawk's, then someone else played that and then made their own version of the terrible version. It's so bad. You are not selling them on how bad it is.
I found it weirdly charming. You know, if I'd paid like full price, which is like 20 quid for it, I'd have been raging. But
they tried to charge 20 quid for it.
Maybe it's like
I thought it was like a $5 or something.
No, on sale I got it.
Because I only had it on Game Pass. Even when I was getting it for free, I felt ripped off.
I got it for a $5, and I thought, like, that's okay, that's fair. I got my fun out of it, and like it genuinely was just like a Tony Hawk's game. It wasn't a good one. It was fine. I kind of liked the writing in it, which was like just silly, fourth wall breaking stupidity, which was fun, and it's cute, and you can pet the birds in like a separate mode and all sorts of silly stuff like that. But yeah, it's probably not worth your time unless you're very interested in like Tony Hawk's related games, because I'll basically play anything that's like that. But the reason why I played Skatebird was it was literally a day before I was like, I'll play this, I'll platinum this. That'll kind of scratch the platinum itch, and then I'll go and play Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, which is the other one I played. And it's basically a homage to Jet Set Radio, Sunset Overdrive, games of that ilk, and it's actually very, very well done. It's not super. I think it's lacking something, and I don't exactly know what it is. I think it's just very, very PS2 era Tony Hawk's. To an extent, like it's almost limiting itself by putting itself in that box when it could probably do more in some cases. But it's a nice nostalgic throwback, and the thing I like about it most of all is it takes out the kind of technical difficulty of like Tony Hawk's games. So whenever you're like manualing or grinding, you have your bar and you have to kind of keep it in the middle and make sure you don't fall off. With this one, it's more about keeping your flow state going. So if you jump into a grind, you're immediately in it. If you jump to the next thing, you immediately lash onto it. And it's all about kind of just keeping your line and your flow going. And that's the main like issue. If you want to manual, you just remember to press the button. There's no like difficulty aspect to it. It's all about just getting your combo going. And then if you want to get your multipliers up, you lean into the corner of the grind and it gives you a plus multiplier. So in terms of that side of things, pretty cool. There is the one major flaw of it that's getting to the point where I'm like, it's making me hate the process, because if they just stripped it back, it would just be like a really fun, like urban graffiti style Tony Hawk's game, and I'd really enjoy it. They've got combat in there, and it's basically like a police system a la GTA and stuff like that, where like if you do lots of graffiti, then a certain level of police will come, and if you do more, then more will come. And the combat is so poor, man. Like it's just they swarm you, they get in your way. Whenever you actually have kind of exhausted the idea of like there's police here and the novelty's gone, the only way to get your like heat down is to go and find a kind of changing area, and then you change into a different set of clothes and you lose your heat. There is like maybe one on every single level. It's not on a map, so you don't know where it is. So unless you like come across one or remember where it is, you're not going to be able to lose the police, and they just get in your way, and to the point where you like, if you have a high level of like police, like 4 or 5 or whatever, you basically can't move for them like grabbing you or doing something to you, and you're like, I just want to like skate, leave me alone. But yeah, it's very cool for the most part, apart from that. And I will also say the soundtrack is very cool. It is very like 2000s urban. It's kind of a mix of like lo-fi and then like that really like intense 90s DJ stuff as well, and like everything in between. Very, very cool. If you're not into that sort of thing, it could definitely come across as obnoxious very quickly. But if you do like that sort of thing, it's very well done. So Bomb Rush Cyberfunk was very good, still is very good. And then the last thing I played, and I've only played 20 minutes of it today just to see what it was like, and see if I would be willing to kind of bounce between that and the other thing I'm playing. So I played a little bit of Cat Quest 2 upon Melika's request.
Yes! What did you think of it?
I've only played 20 minutes, but I quite like it.
It's so good, right?
Yeah, the art style where you're kind of walking across.
I love the art style.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. The combat's dead simple.
But fun.
Yeah, it's one of those games where I know I'm not going to have any difficulty with it whatsoever, but it's just going to get me through.
It is such a fun experience.
Do you know what? It's also couch co-op, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, you can have one person playing as the other thing.
Yeah, so I think that's one that I'll probably play, and then Ella and me will probably play that one as well. Because it's one of those things where it's dead simple and it's very tactile. Like you're just always just smashing something.
Which character do you prefer playing as?
Well, the cat, duh.
Yeah, the boy.
Obviously. So yeah, I've played that, and I'll probably go back to it. I think it's only like a 6 to 8 hour platinum, so that's
yeah. It's not beautiful, but it's so good.
Yeah, so they're the ones that I've been playing. Oh, and I should probably mention as well, I've been playing Baldur's Gate because it came out.
No.
I'm trying to
hole, Callum.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage my time between that and getting indies on the board, so I have something to chat about every couple of weeks. So I know that's like a 200-hour affair, but I've played 4 hours of it, and the reason why I bring it up on an indie podcast is we were talking about it last week and saying, is it as good as Disco Elysium? I've only played 4 hours of it, but I'm already going to say, no, it's not.
Really?
Yeah, I'm on the side of that too.
I've had a lot of praise for it.
It just hasn't hooked me the same. Like, I was expecting huge figs, and I'm like, it is good, like undoubtedly very, very good. But it's not grabbing me to the same extent. Some people are like, I'm raving about it and going, oh, have you done that thing? Oh, I haven't done that thing, and oh, I need to play as the other person and play it like 5 times over to get all the stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, it's good. But I kind of get overwhelmed by the UI. There's like a lot that it doesn't actually tell you outright, and it kind of assumes a lot of information on like the D&D 5e. So you kind of have to know some of your stuff going in, or you'll get lost, because it tutorializes very basic stuff to get you through, but there's lots of stuff it doesn't tell you, and if you don't kind of grasp that yourself, you're going to lose out on a lot of stuff, I reckon.
Did you play either of the first two?
No.
Oh,
because I had a streamer friend that played a lot of Baldur's Gate, so I've watched it, but I've never played it myself.
The first two are very different, though, because they're actually real time, and Baldur's Gate is very turn-based.
Oh, really?
For the combat.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize they changed it.
And actually, I've heard
people... I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I've heard people prefer like the first and second game's combat actually over the third, and that's kind of a mixed affair. But I get you, Callum, for the they don't explain certain bits. Like I'm writing a guide right now on one of the first bosses in the game, and they don't tell you, but you can actually make characters drop their weapons, and that trivializes most of the combat for the rest of that arena, or even just kick people off of like ledges into like bottomless chasms. It's like, why wouldn't you tell us that? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I kind of feel like the game wants me to do things that'll make me feel clever, but it's not like in Disco Elysium where they're there for you.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you feel, sometimes it goes right, sometimes it goes wrong, and it's all there in front of you. It's kind of like, for example, if you're in a cave and there might be like something in the corner that allows you to like drink a potion that lets you speak to animals, but it's not like, it's like a very minute detail of this huge expansive area you're exploring, and if you don't do that, then you can't do like the interaction it wants you to do, and you're like, okay. Yeah. It just leads to people like playing the same bit 4 times over and saves coming. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't feel like you could play from start to finish without going back on yourself to fix some things you're doing. In Disco Elysium, I roll with a punch. It's just like, oh, the chair killed me. Oh well.
Oh, I love that chair. Yeah, no, I did get that same experience where it felt a little bit more watered down, and I love some of the bits, but yeah, a lot of the checks just weren't quite as much fun for me. But like
the one thing I do have to praise about it, and I find this like staggeringly good for a game of that scope, split screen co-op.
Yeah,
mad, absolutely mad. Like That is like a 200-hour plus game, and they've like basically when you do split screen co-op of that kind of style, it means you basically have to develop the game twice. That's
Yeah.
From the developer's perspective, that's basically what that means, and it's crazy.
Oh man.
So yeah, Ella's actually decided she wanted to play this one as well. So
There
which
you
is
go.
Fun.
definitely the densest game she'll have ever played.
I was gonna say, it doesn't sound like her usual games from what you've been telling us about her.
No, well, she embraced Disco Elysium, so
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, were there any more fun tales to tell from Disco Elysium for playing through that?
I know she took a step back from that
Okay.
because she played a bit of Baldur's Gate, and she was also playing something else as well that escapes me. Can't remember. It might be for her work. I'm trying to think if I can actually mention. Oh no, they're doing something that is similar to Road 96. So she basically played all of Road 96 to get to know what that is.
I think Is that the one
I
where
think
you're? Oh yeah, you're a teen trying to escape. Like they're getting drafted or something.
Yeah, it's like one of
And-
those like Life is Strange games, something similar.
Right.
Make choices.
Look kind of interesting because like there are different ways to get around. Like you could steal somebody's car or hide in like somebody's truck, or just like go like backpacking throughout the wilderness, and
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's one. I hate that format of game.
Oh.
Just it's not for me. But she seemed to like it.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's for a woman that just hates narrative altogether. It's very surprising. But
You
JT,
playing anything else, Cal?
Oh.
Or no?
nothing for me. Nothing for me. JT, you jump in.
Yeah. Well, I played all of the games you mentioned, like especially Sea of Stars. It's been very good. I still need to play more. I need to like sit down for a full day and just play. Just
I thought
that.
exactly the same.
Just blast through it.
I finally sunk more time into Stardew Valley and actually finished the community center, which
Nice.
felt really good. And then I got to go to the islands that I'm forgetting the name of. I'm just calling them Pelican
Ginger
Islands.
Islands?
Ginger Islands,
Ginger-
that's it. And I'm going on the hunt for all of the golden walnuts, but I'm struggling. I'm consulting our guide on the golden walnuts, and that's very helpful.
I was going to say, I think we've got a guide for it.
Yes. And so that's going okay. I finally beat Holocure, which is the Vampire Survivors
Yeah, I remember you
game,
mentioning that one.
and I have no inclination of playing it ever again.
Yeah.
I beat it on the hardest difficulty, and I finished it, and I'm like, okay, I'm
Never
done.
again.
It was good. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's very much once you beat it on the hardest difficulty, there's just no real inclination to play it again with another character or anything. So, but still, it was good for what it's worth. I ended up playing a very silly game called One Armed Cook, which it's not a very good game, but it's a very fun, dumb game to play with a friend, where you and a friend are serving ice cream, and you only have one arm between you, and you have to like pick up pieces of ice cream.
Oh, that looks
and put
ridiculous.
it's very dumb, and it's like you have to put 2 pieces of ice cream in a cone, and then the ice cream starts falling on the floor, and the trays fall on the floor and the cones, and you're just throwing stuff at each other. But somehow you manage to come up on top, and even if you serve people the wrong orders, they'll still like give you a tip. And I was like, thanks, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
So yeah, that was a very fun game just to play if you're just like if you have a good friend with you and you want to play something that just you'll both enjoy, but isn't really a good game. It's a good time.
Like Skatebird.
Yeah.
Don't play Skatebird. Don't do it.
And that's been mostly it. I played a bit more Baldur's Gate, but I don't know if I can really get sunk into it because it's just so much. And I played other games where like I ended up playing more Disco Elysium. Like I played that and I was like, I think I like Disco Elysium better, so I'll play a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just been games that I've played that I've already played before that I just want to come back to some comfort games. So those have been good.
There's nothing wrong with a cozy comfort game now and again. I've been kind of toying with the idea of going back and playing Spiritfarer for the Platinum.
Oh,
But
do
it-
it.
But the only thing is you'd have to play it in a very particular way, which I think would take away from it.
That's true.
Oh.
Look, I'll tell you one of the annoying things about Spiritfarer is the fact that you've got that one when you catch Giovanni with the other woman, and it's like whether to tell acid or not. There's an achievement for doing one or the other. So
Yeah.
like you have to, and it's like a good portion of the way through the game. So you have to like play the whole way through the game to
Yeah.
get to that point. Again, if you miss it the first time, like because I didn't realize it was there, so I didn't like think to save before and then change my mind or anything. So
Yeah.
I'd have to play through the whole way to make the other decision.
Well, no, I've already played it once before, so I've definitely made one of the decisions, so that would be
Yeah.
fine. But it's just you'd have to be constantly like checking guides and making sure you're hitting all the notes and making sure everyone's happy and never missing someone
I
out.
actually I got all the achievements just naturally for making sure my people were happy because I don't want anyone on my ship being sad. So I was always, apart from Elena, I hated Elena. But the weird thing is, I got the achievement for getting her really happy, and I don't know why, because I was actively trying to make her unhappy as possible by like upgrading her room and like giving her food she hates. I can't stand Elena. Like Bruce and Mickey, I didn't like, but when I did their Everdor journey, I warmed up to them. I was like, you know what, I get it. But with Elena, I hated her on my boat. I hated her off my boat. She's the worst, and I hope she goes to hell. She gets through the Everdor, and it's just worse. It's just terrible, horrible stuff happening to her on the other side.
So
After what is going on with that?
the moral of the story is, if you want a nice, cozy, warm feeling where you get
so
your
lovely.
people to go to hell, then you play her.
Everyone else is so either lovely or at least complex and delightful. Elena's just a word I won't say on a podcast.
A real piece of work.
Oh,
We'll go with that.
I had to stop Spirit for a little bit because it was too heartbreaking for me at the minute. I was like,
Which part did you get up to?
I delivered like 4 of the people, and I think I was nearing the bit where I'd have to deliver Atoll, and I was like, no, I can't do it.
Oh.
Yeah,
Atol's a tough one.
Once you get to the point where you've delivered like 3 or 4 of them, the ones that come after are just not as good.
Oh.
Stanley is the best character on the game, though. I love Stanley to pieces.
Yeah, the later ones like Giovanni and Bruce and Mickey, and there's also that teacher one.
Elena, that's the one I hate. She's the worst.
They get progressively weaker, but the ones at the start are nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very much a sucker for that. Where I will.
I'll tell you an unpopular opinion I have there. I never really liked Gwen. Everyone seems to love Gwen. I found her too blunt and brash. I was like, I can't get behind that.
Well, the thing that's wrong with Gwen is she's the tutorial character, so she has all this exposition that makes her less of a character and more of like a mechanic.
I don't mind that. It's that I don't like her personality. I just find her too blunt. I can't remember what it is, but at one point she says something. It's like, oof, rude. I bear grudges.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Well, I think the hardest character for me though was Alice, which is the hedgehog that gets dementia, and seeing her go from like the sweet, lovely, warm old lady to someone who doesn't even know who she is and like snaps, and it's so realistic and heartbreaking. It's like I cried so much over Alice.
That's how they get you.
Yeah,
You see,
I think it's because they like make it so real that like at least one of the characters you will have encountered something like that in your life, and it just makes it so much more like, oh my god, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
You see, I still have Alice in the nice stage, and I'm really scared like to play it again and just see that. I know I would appreciate it, but it's like, oh, Alice. And...
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
hard.
tough when it starts happening because it's so subtle. It's heartbreaking.
Those bloody writers with their seamless quality writing.
I know, right?
But if that wraps us up for games we've been playing, no more JT?
That's been it. I just played a little bit more Blasphemous 2, but I think I've talked that to death in the last few podcasts.
Yeah, no more Metroidvanias. I've banned them because I don't play them anymore.
We don't have to ban them. I mean,
but yeah, that is the games that we've been playing. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the games that are on our radar, and Malika is going to talk about all the things she's been playing that you can't. Stick around. And we are back again, and we are doing section number 2, which is Indies on the Radar. I'm not even going to ask who's jumping in. We're going to get Malika to do it because she has been away at Gamescom. She's played some stuff that you have not played. She's going to tell you all about it right now.
Yeah, boy. So I played a lot of games at Gamescom. I'm going to stick to the ones that are coming out in the next month or so. So the first one I'm going to jump in with is one that we briefly discussed last time, which is Paleo Pines, which is kind of like a farming game but with dinosaurs, and that was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. And one of the cool things was the woman running the booth. Absolutely lovely, and she's also agreed to do an interview with us, so hopefully we'll be having that on the site at some point soon. But basically she had like all these cheat codes and stuff she could do as a developer, which she wasn't really supposed to do, but when I sat down she was like, what's your favorite dinosaur? And I said it was a Diplodocus, which isn't in the game, which I think is an immediate, like, but they had to cut down to only, because they could only afford to have so many. But I gave her my second favorite, which is Stegosaurus. And then not only did she spawn me in a Stegosaurus, but she kept spawning until we got one of the color that I wanted. And she gave me like a rare one and stuff. Like, they got different rarities, they got different colors. They've even got different personalities. Like my Stegosaurus ended up being a really greedy one. They just wanted to be eating all the time. And I think that's so cool that the dinosaurs each have their own unique personalities. So when you find them, like, no game is going to be the same, because there's like, I think it's 30 different dinosaur species, and then within that you've got different colors, different rarities, different personalities. So there's so many different combinations, so your game is going to feel really truly unique. And the way it works is that you go out into the world and you can collect these things. I think they're called dream stones or something like that, and basically when you bring them back to your sort of farm, you place them down and it will create like a home for your dinosaurs. And then you go out and you'll find dinosaurs in the wild which you can tame, and like over the course of the week you're like feeding them, treating them nicely. Eventually they'll let you ride them, and then you can do stuff like chopping down trees or like mining for rocks or like watering the plants. Different types of dinosaurs do different things. So the T-Rex can like drink from a water fountain and it's like water the plants. The Stegosaurus is good at getting trees and like weeds. The T-Rex is also good at like mining rocks, and you need like either carnivorous or like herbivores and stuff. All of them have like different aspects. The movement's pretty decent. I'd say it could be slightly smoother, but it's not so unsmooth that it affects things. And I mean, to be honest, you're controlling a massive dinosaur, so it makes sense it won't be that smooth.
One thing I would ask, and
yes?
I'm not 100% on this, but obviously, like, I know the developers are from here. I vaguely remember this being initially a mobile game. Does that come across?
It doesn't feel mobile gaming from what I played of it. It feels very much your standard indie farming game, but like with a twist. I would say the dinosaurs are the main twist. Like, other than that, it really does feel like your sort of standard game, but it is very fun. One criticism I did have with it is that so basically to unlock new areas you have to like clear all the weeds that are there, and that is a very, very slow process. Like, you literally have to hit it one at a time. It's a full animation. It clears one weed and there's like so many to do. Plus the dinosaurs have stamina. Now the ones I played with in the demo had been you'd use her cheat codes to get them like the highest possible stamina there was, but if you were playing with your regular ones, which have much lower stamina according to her, it would take so long, and I reckon will probably get really boring and repetitive, having to constantly go back, sleep, start again. I do like there are sleep cycles in the game, so like different things will appear at different times of day, and you can sort of like change the time of day by like going to sleep and like so I think that's very cool that it has got the day and night cycle in the game. It does look awesome. Like I overall really like the game. Excited to see the full release, but I would hope that they make it at least a little bit smoother to get into the new areas, because it just takes forever chopping the things down. And then the other ones I want to talk about are
a very small thing. Did they send someone that sounded like me?
It was funny actually, because I actually mentioned you two. I said I had a friend from Northern Ireland as well, and she was like, "Oh, so you understand my accent?" And I was like, "Yeah," because it was obviously in Germany, and she was saying how she's had spent like the whole weekend talking like really slowly because no one could understand her accent. And I was like, "No, I'm so used to it. Let's go." And she went full like fast speaking, very sort of like Irish. She went full fast speaking, very Irish accent. And
I was just wondering if they're like, "Oh no, we'll just send like the one English person we have."
No. She sounded exactly like you, Cal, but like as a girl.
Yeah, a bit more high pitched.
Yeah, but she was lovely. I'm really looking forward to hopefully doing the interview with her for all of you guys to listen to, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then another one, the other ones I played were in the ID at Xbox area in the Xbox booth. So the Palo Pines was in this sort of general indie section of Gamescom. And then the first game that I'm going to talk about is one that I think I briefly mentioned a few weeks ago, which is Cocoon. And that is coming out, I want to say end of September, so very, very soon. It's a puzzle game, and it's really cool looking. I've done a review of it for Indie Game Culture, which should be going up in the next couple of days, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think the challenge level on the puzzles is just right. It's not too difficult that you're spending there saying, "Oh, I'm bored of this, I can't work it out." But it's not so easy. It's like, "Oh, that was no challenge." It's like right in that sweet spot in the middle. I love the art style. It's quite minimalist actually, but like not so minimalist it's like there's nothing going on, but it's like there are details there, but nothing excess to what needs to be there. The color scheme as well is like slightly desaturated, so it's not completely muted so as to be boring, but it's not so vibrant that it's distracting you. And I think the overall theme of it works really well. But I was surprised at the lack of different mechanics initially, because I saw each game had like a plaque showing the controls for it, and Cocoon, you can move around with the analog stick and you have an interact button, and that is it. And I was like, oh, so you can't like jump, you can't do different moves, but basically all of the puzzles are relying on you using your mind and knowing which order to do the interactions with the different things in, and like how far to do them. And so you don't really feel that lack of mechanics, because even though there's only the 2 buttons going on, there's a lot to do with interacting with the environment. And so, for example, in the demo, one of the puzzles had like a sort of tube, and there were these pipe pieces that could twist either way, and you had to press a button to twist them. So you had to quickly drop the ball in, because it was using your orb, which is like your portal world, and that's how you interact with your environment. So you had to drop it into the tube at the top, run to the first button, press it just as the ball's coming down. As soon as it's out, run to the next button, press it again. And there was another one which had switches to control 2 walls, and you have to like pause them so that the 2 switches would be switched, so that the gap in the wall would be for the same for both of the walls. And yeah, it's just very sort of clever. There's timing based, there's smart based, because there was one, and there was literally just 2 moving platforms. And I was there for a while. I was like, well, how do I get this? Because as soon as I've gone across on the first one, I can't then press the button for the second one. But what I didn't see was that there was a secret platform that you pass by as you're on the moving platform. You have to quickly run off, rush around to the side, press the button before the thing arrives, and then you can go back. It was all very clever, very paying attention to your surroundings, and I love that kind of thing in a puzzle game. So yeah, I was really, really looking forward to that. Do you know if it's coming to PlayStation as well, Cal?
No, it's Xbox only as far as I know.
Yeah, that makes sense then. But yeah, no, it does look really cool. So if you've got an Xbox, definitely one to look out for.
And I commend you so much for playing a puzzle game in front of people, because like that's pressure.
Oh, no, it's fine. Puzzle games are my jam. Puzzle games and platformers are the ones I actually feel confident. Oh my god, there was one game, so it was called Dead Pets Unleashed, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. I like pets.
You like dead pets?
No, I just thought it was I thought they were like cute little zombie pets, because I didn't know anything about the game. I just saw the title of the game. So basically, when you're in the queue for it, you tell them which game you want to play, and that one didn't have a queue. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll play that one. The worst decision I've ever made. So you immediately spawn in as like this drunk 30-year-old person. I'm like, okay, maybe it'll get interesting. The first mini game involves washing an adult toy, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk away from this, because A, I don't want to play it anyway, but certainly not with a bunch of people watching me do this on a screen for all the world to see. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I just put down the controller and walked away, because I was like, why would this be a thing? And the worst thing is there were children in that queue.
Oh,
no. It's like, what if the kids are seeing this game? So yeah, definitely not my kind of game, but you might like it, JT. You know, you like adult games.
Maybe.
You're least of the painful stuff.
I look at some of the screenshots
I wouldn't
and they're
worry
doing
about the
yoga.
kids.
I was like, oh.
I wouldn't worry about the kids at all. The amount of children over the years that have told me via comms that they have had relations with my mother, so that they clearly they know their stuff.
But one of the games I am definitely looking forward to is Miniko's Night Market, and that I've been looking forward to that for ages, because I think it was first announced in like 2021 or 2020. It was like a long time ago, and it was always a coming soon. And I believed them. I thought it was coming soon, but it did not come. And it did not come. And then I didn't even realize it was going to be at the event. And I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, I've wanted to play this for so long, because I thought it was going to be a Switch exclusive, but it's not. So it's coming to Switch on, I think, September 26th, and then coming a couple of weeks later to, I think it's coming to PlayStation as well. I think it's definitely coming to Xbox, but I think it's also coming to PlayStation at that delayed release date. But it's everything I hoped it would be. So you play as this like cute little character called Miniko, and you're in this sort of town, and all that is like a big sort of story thing going on. All the cats have been disappearing, and there's these secret agents around, and in the demo you have to do the first sort of sneaking around mission, which is sort of sneaking around, dodging the agents' torches as you release the cats. You have to like really think about the timings as well, because you have to get certain objects to distract the agents. And you also learn a bit more about the townsfolk, so you can buy things, you can collect different flowers to make bouquets to sell at your night market, which sadly wasn't in the demo, but I honestly cannot wait for the full release. It seems so much fun. Such cute graphics, really fun characters. I love the idea of being able to collect a bunch of stuff. And yeah, really, really looking forward to Miniko's Night Market. It's everything that I hoped it would be. I don't know, have you either of you two had that game on your radar?
Oh, I haven't heard
No,
of
I
it
haven't, I
yet.
haven't looked into
But,
that one. I think I seen that as Xbox only and was just like, nope, not for me.
No, I'm gonna give that a check because I think it is coming to PlayStation. Let's have a quick look because I know it's coming to Switch first of all. Oh, maybe not then. It's definitely. Oh wait, no, PS5. Yeah, apparently it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe I will look into it then.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to search it up, but I'm coming up with like real world life night markets. So I'm like, oh wait, how do I make sure it's the video game one?
Yeah, no, Maniko's Night Market, but it's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm so glad it's lived up to my hype because I've been wanting to play this for so long, and seeing it just there when I wasn't expecting it was fantastic, and really excited for that one. And then we've also got it wasn't at the event because I'm saving because I was only doing the ones coming out this month, and then obviously next episode I'll talk about some more of the games that I was playing, stagger it out a bit more. But it's a game, it's not a new game, but Greece is coming to Xbox Game Pass, so I'm gonna finally get to play that one, which you guys have talked about. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that is. And then the other game that's coming, we've talked about it a bit on the podcast as well, is Lies of P, which is coming very soon. So yeah, I'll let Cal talk a bit more about that one because I played them and I was useless at it. So it's one that's on my radar to be aware that it exists, but not to play.
Yeah, well, I didn't write it down this time because I think we've already had
Yeah.
a discussion about Lies of P, but like it looks like it's going to be like indie Bloodborne. It's going to be fun. It's going to take hours out of my time that I don't have to give to it. It's going to be one of those things. But I can tell you the ones that I am interested in that we haven't talked about. It's a bit of a light list because there's not a ton actually coming to PlayStation that I'm aware of. All the fun stuff came about a week or two ago, so that's fair enough. So one that we mentioned already is Chants of Senaarr, which is a puzzle game, Tower of Babel. We mentioned that once. I'll not go super in depth into it, but it's basically a puzzle game based around the Tower of Babel and all of that lore. It looks quite clever. It's out tomorrow. I think it's coming out on the PS catalog tomorrow, so I may give it some time. I'm already bouncing between 3 games, but what's 4 in the grand scheme of things, you know? Then this is the one that I'm actually the most interested in, and I think you'll find it really weird, but it just kind of grabbed me. I was like, I think I'll find this weirdly interesting. It's a game called Nour, which I think is like short for Nourish or something. I don't know, but basically it's like a food photography game.
You gonna play with your food?
Yeah, play with your food. That's the one.
Oh, that looks weird.
Yeah, it looks weird, but in a weird way, I'm kind of like, I can't help but get involved. I kind of
What's
want.
the gameplay for that?
I think it's like you get scored based on like your creativity on like presenting weird dishes and food art and stuff like that. I think it's like,
Interesting.
do you know how people love like taking Instagrams of their food?
Yeah, boy.
I mean, I'm kind of one of those people where there's a Japanese tea gardens nearby that I'll run to and I'll have food. I'll take a picture of like the food like in front of the tea gardens, like a little waterfall and stuff. It's like, oh hey guys, look where I'm at. It's like, JT, stop.
See, I'm kind of into like cooking. I used to have like a cooking Instagram and stuff like that. So I appreciate the aspect of like plating dishes and doing it in like a fun way. So maybe that's what it speaks to more than anything. But like even the fact that the food just looks really good. Like I remember I never played Final Fantasy 15, but I saw a lot of like the screenshots of the food in Final Fantasy 15 because they spent a weird amount of time on it looking like amazing. And I was like, oh, if that was like the whole game, you'd have me. So
there you go.
No, exists.
They listen to you.
Yeah, so there's that. I don't actually know what the game's going to entail outside of like literally just putting food into an organized manner and then taking a picture of it. But we'll see. If it's cheap, I'll buy it. If it's very expensive, it will not be getting bought. So we'll see. Another one, and this is one that I probably won't get into myself, but it's something that probably bears mentioning, is a game called Eternights, which is basically very similar to the likes of Persona, more Persona Strikers, because it's like more hacky slashy than Persona, but in terms of the way it's presented, pretty much the same. Your teens, there's like supernatural things going on. You're killing all of these like monsters, and yeah, it's basically Persona, but not Persona. So if
I really like the color palette used for it.
it looks pretty good.
Very purpley and blue.
Very purpley and blue. If that doesn't sell a game, I don't know what will.
It's like the highest compliment I can give game other than purpley and pink. Like purpley and blue is like second. So
you're right. I retract my statement. But yeah, if you're looking for Persona and you've played all the Personas, then maybe that's what you want to do. Another one, and I don't know how good this is going to be, but I kind of just like the novelty of how it looked. There's a game called it's called Xolotl, but the AK in Xolotl is yeah. So basically, it's a top-down shooter where you're an Xolotl and you shoot an AK-47, and it's like a top-down shooter. It looks weird. It looks like quirky and cute and fun, and a bit chaotic. So that looks like fun. I don't really know much more I could say about it.
Yeah, I just heard of it. I thought it seemed ridiculous, but it doesn't look cool. It doesn't look like the kind of game I would play.
No,
but it does. It does. I love that it exists.
Yeah, there's another one kind of in a similar vein. I didn't write it down because I would hate it, but there's a game coming out called Pizza Possum, and it reminds me a lot of like Overcooked and Moving Out. I think basically and if you've ever played Fat Princess, it kind of reminded me of that as well.
It looks so fun.
I think you literally have to like get across one area to the next and get a pizza and steal it. And like it's like these long maps where you have to like avoid all of these like policemen and officers and like people trying to stop you. It just looks very chaotic and mad, and I would hate it, but someone will get a kick out of that for sure.
Oh man.
And then the only other things I wrote down, there's a couple of things that are coming out for PSVR that I might check out. And the PSVR has been gathering dust, apart from when Ella takes out the Beat Saber, because that's her cardio some days. But Paper Beast is coming out in PSVR 2. It's one of those like quintessential VR games. If you've not played it, that's one of the ones that they kind of put up there and go, you should definitely play that one. So I might look into that. And then they're also doing a VR version of Behind the Frame, which I mentioned before. That's like the Studio Ghibli style like point and click game. They're doing a VR version of that, which I think is
interesting.
Odd. I think it's going to be based around like the painting. I think that's going to be the core aspect of it. Don't know how good that'll be. If it's a free update and they just hand it to me, I'll play it. If not, I don't know if I'll buy it, but we'll see. And then there's actually one more as well, but I imagine JT's probably going to mention this. There's a game called Limbo.
I actually haven't seen that one yet.
It's just like one of those horror games. I thought you would probably mention
Wait,
it.
is it Limbo or Limpo?
Limpo, so Lempo, I think, unless I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, that's the kind of reaction I expected from Melika to be fair.
Oh no.
And look at JT just smiling into your ear. He's like, yeah,
it's like, oh. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's one of those where you like have like a little torch or you have like a little lighter and you go around these dark areas, and I think you're like
nothing about that sounds even the slightest bit appealing.
It seems very like Outlasty, where you're like completely vulnerable and you just try and get from A to B and not die. That's the vibe. And it's the 10-year anniversary of Outlast, so what better time to do that?
Oh. That's not a game I need to play again. That was something that was too graphic.
Very visceral and really relied on the jump scares. Which
is that game that was like really popular on Twitch back in like 2020?
Yeah. Based on like the first hour of gameplay, because after that it really dips.
Yeah. It's like where you're in the mental asylum and trying to escape the patients.
Yeah, no, I said I saw some of those streams. I like popped in, said hi to my friends that were playing. Or like, sorry, I can't stay. You're playing a horror game, and that's horrible. So I'm gonna leave, but I hope it goes well. So I have seen a few, maybe 1 or 2 minute clips from those games, but no.
You checked in, you seen it was dark. You wanted all the shapes and colors, and you went back.
It's like where's pretty shapes.
But yeah, they're all the games that I had. There's not a ton of stuff I'm like super excited for. I don't think there's anything like AAA in the pipeline anyway as well. So
are we forgetting that Starfield exists? Like,
yeah, right. I am. Like, I would probably get a kick out of playing Starfield, but
yeah,
I'm not going to go out of my way.
I am legit worried about next podcast that I won't have played anything other than Starfield, so I won't have anything indies to talk about. I'm gonna have to actively make an effort.
Yeah, that's my Baldur's Gate plan at the minute. Try and like split my time equally. That's why I've played like 15 minutes of Cat Quest. I'm like, just Start something.
Have something, yeah. Well, because the thing is, like, Starfield is so not my usual genre, but I've watched the previews and I was like, I'm gonna love this, so I am gonna play it, and I'm gonna lose all my time to it. But I will try to play other stuff as well.
Yeah, I think my middle ground is probably going to be Lies of P.
That makes sense.
And it's one of those where I'm going to start it and I'm going to hate it because it's going to be a huge slog. But
even the demo was difficult.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. JT, tell me what you're excited for.
I don't have anything I'm super excited for. Like a lot of the games I was really excited for, like especially Blasphemous 2 already came out, so it's like everything after I was like, oh. I guess
I vaguely remember when I was looking at mine, there was a lot of Metroidvanias I ignored, so I imagine you have those.
I think I might have missed some of those. I'm like, oh no. So I just saw some for like this week that seemed kind of interesting. Like there was several farming sims I saw that seemed neat, and one was kind of interesting. It was a pool cleaning simulator, so kind of like power wash but pool. But it's kind of a mix of
look that up.
It's kind of a mix of that and a Viscera cleanup detail where it's like cleaning up after like a horror night or something. Like one of the pools is filled with blood and stuff, and it seemed like it still managed to be a cozy game.
Oh no, that looks so satisfying.
Yeah, it looks
Whilst you're talking about a game like this, I've actually just remembered something, and it's a gripe because I don't understand why this happened. So Ella got very excited because I informed her that House Flipper was coming out in VR for the PSVR, which is technically true. They released it for the old PSVR instead of the PSVR.
No! Why would they do that? That's such
why
a
they've done
weird way to like. It's like, hey, we've got this really cool new product, but we're not putting games on it. We're putting it on the old product. Like that doesn't make any sense at all.
No
so we're trying to encourage people to buy it.
Yeah, like no one really has a PSVR. Like most people have either sold it or traded up, and now they can't get like they released
That's
it.
A really stupid way to do it.
And she was crestfallen because like
is it going to be coming to the new one or?
I think because they're making House Flipper 2, they're probably going, right, we'll just get that out in the old one and then do it for the new one.
Dumb.
Oh. Yeah, that was a really poor decision. And that was my fault. It wasn't the developer's fault. That was my fault because I told her it was a thing. But yeah, that was my tangent. Sorry.
No, that's good. It's a good tie-in. I don't know. I think those guys are fun. And this one, it had some like more quirky bits where you had to like fiddle with the pool stuff, or there's like sometimes there's like alligators, and I saw a picture of someone chasing a baby alligator through a tunnel, and I was like, oh, that's kind of adorable. But it looked like it was another one of those kind of games where it's a lot of busy work, but it's framed in a way that's more cozy, and it's very satisfying to like make it look clean. But at the same time, some of those pools look pretty gross, and even just looking at them makes me feel almost a little bit queasy. It's like, oh, it looks too real. But I don't know, it seemed like it'd be a good time. I just like the mix of that and Viscera cleaning detail and some other elements, so that seemed okay. There's one game that I was really excited because I thought it might be a horror game, but I don't think it is. It's a Sprout Valley farming sim, and
why would that be a horror game?
The way it was framed, I saw in the like the YouTube, or not YouTube, just the trailer for it. It looked like it was on the verge of like having a horror element beneath the surface. It looked like, oh, this is hiding something, isn't it? But no, it's not. It's a cute, like, another farming sim game. It looks very sweet. Just like you're a little sprout mole in a valley, and you're just farming, and the area is very cute. It doesn't seem like it had too much detail into it, but I really want there to be some kind of jump scare or something to like some kind of subversion of it at the end. But I really don't think there is. So
it looks kind of like Garden Story.
I don't think I've heard of that one, but. It did look very cute, at least. But there's another farming sim, Fae Farm, that we talked about last week that's also coming out this week. So I think that'll be the better farming sim if you're to get into that. But I don't know if I really want to talk too much about farming sims because I'm just not as passionate about them. In our first episode, we talked about there's just too many farming sims.
There are.
I think there are, and there's still more coming out. It's like I don't have the time.
And you're playing Stardew Valley, so why would you turn that away?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the thing. Like they're all good, but it's like that's not necessary.
I just need one.
Yeah.
Well, just a good one. Stardew is already it, so it's like where else? What else can I turn to?
Although to be fair, I do tend to get quite overwhelmed with farming sims when I get into them. There's so much to do, so I do actually quite like those early 3 or 4 hours of a farming sim where it's just setting everything up. But as soon as it's set up and I've got to actually maintain it, yeah, that's it. I don't like the maintenance. I like the setting it up and the getting to know the characters. But once I know them and I've got to like maintain stuff. I think Stardew Valley is like the only one I stick with long term.
Yeah, it
It's
can
very
get like
satisfying.
very mechanical whenever you're like
Yeah.
automating everything. Yeah, turning it into like a multi-million-dollar corporation.
Yeah.
Oh, and so those have been good, but I think I'll just stick with Stardew. I'll check those out, and some of those have demos, so it's like okay, I'll give it a spin. But there's one I am kind of excited for. Melika, I'm not sure it'll be your cup of tea, just because it's more of a surrealist horror-ish kind of game. It's called
Horror.
it's called The Many Pieces of Mr. Coo, and it's about a cuckoo bird that gets like split into pieces in kind of a old style Disney cartoon animation, and you're trying to build the pieces back together, and it's very set in
Kind of
this.
fun.
It looks kind of neat because it's a point and click adventure, and you're going through and like messing with all these contraptions, and like it's stuff where it's like a box will launch you into the wall, and like you'll slowly slide down, and it looked really cute. And it's a lot of the art style. It kind of reminded me of going to one of those art museums, and you see those pictures or paintings where everything is kind of melting into the ground because it's so hot. It looked like being trapped in like that kind of headspace for playing
That's
that
how
game.
I feel right now.
Yeah, you know,
so
it doesn't actually look too bad. It doesn't actually look too bad. I'll give it. It's got an interesting style.
yeah, first it looked very cool, like art wise. Like I really want to see more of that kind of art, so I'll have to give that a spin. But that's my week. All the games I was really excited for already came out. But Callum, now that you mentioned Metroidvanias, I'm really interested to see if Crowsworn is coming out soon, because that's a Metroidvania it looks a lot like Silksong. It's very inspired by Hollow Knight, and it's like, but instead is you're a Victorian guy, and like you have a little pistol, and it's also the same kind of combat. But and I need to check to see like when that's coming out, because I know that it said it was going to come out a year ago, and it's been a year. So
Well, let me make it abundantly clear. If anyone's going to review it, it's not going to be me. I'm done. I'm out.
okay.
But yeah, that is our games on our radar. Malika's holding some back. She wants to kind of sporadically pace.
I do. Well, I figure I'll say the ones like when it's like within a month of their release. I won't say it too early, get people hyped, and then have them waiting for too long. It's not fair. It's not fair, Cal.
Yeah, can't do that to people. Cruel.
Exactly.
Very cruel. And we're not going to be cruel to you. Whenever we come back, we're going to have our big discussion about indie characters with AAA appeal. Sounds good, right? Hello, and we are back for our final section, which is our big indie discussion. This week, we are going to be discussing indie game characters that have AAA appeal. We'll essentially be looking at the indie characters that we feel are so good, so well written, so deep, so memorable that they're just as good as your Nathan Drakes and your insert other character here.
You clearly play so many AAAs, Cal.
Yeah. I had one in my head and then just off a cliff. No more. But yeah, we'll jump right in. Who wants to kick us off? Because I feel like you two are definitely going to be...
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to start. So the first one that came to me, I was like, okay, what does AAA appeal mean? And there were sort of different things that I came up with. The one that I came up with was just iconic. And I think the Vessel from Hollow Knight, because even though he's not necessarily that fleshed out as a character, like you see him, you instantly know who he is. Like he's so recognizable. And even though he doesn't like speak and stuff, he's got something like quirks in the way he moves, the way he interacts. I think he's just one of those characters that you see and he stays with you. So for me, he's definitely got AAA appeal in the sense that he carries, like you see him, you immediately think Hollow Knight, you immediately remember all the journeys you went through with him. And I think it's the stuff you do with him rather than necessarily him himself. But I think he definitely has that sort of deeper appeal. And like he was 100% the first character that came to mind for that.
Yeah, I'm kind of split between them and a Hornet. I really love the Vessel, like the Knight. They're just like some of the artwork with them, which is like standing over a void, holding their sword. It looks good and it conveys so much. My only thing is between them and Hornet is that Hornet actually, they have a speaking voice. And
yes,
you can actually hear some of their dialogue. It's just like it's them wearing a red dress for most of the game, but you can hear them like scorning you. And I've kind of split between them. I think they both have really good designs. But I agree that like Hollow Knight's, like the Vessel's moveset carries well. It's a lot of other games where like even for like Smash Brothers, I could see them like being a character very easily.
Oh, he would be so good in Smash
Yeah, I think it'd be
Brothers.
so much fun to play. Like if they can actually transfer all of the same kind of controls, like I would.
Yeah,
I
that would be really cool. His little
yeah,
nail and jumping on them and stuff. That'd be
so cool. Like
awesome.
descending dive, hit, great slash, and like oh that could work really well. And
Yeah, that could look real good.
yeah,
See, this is something I'm going to have to jump in on because I viewed this question a particular way, and I feel like you've took it another way, which is
Okay.
fine. It's open to
Yeah.
interpretation.
Well, like I've got different characters for different reasons. Like Hollow Knight was one of those ones, like I said, like he hasn't got the appeal in the sense of like being memorable for necessarily who he is. It's more like what he is and what he represents for me. So I think there's sort of different facets to it. So the other ones I think is more perhaps in line with how you think it is Zagreus from Hades. I think because the dialogue in that game is just so utterly next level. Like there's like 300,000 words of dialogue in total. Like it doesn't matter how many times you play Hades, you're unlikely to get even a repeat line. And I think Zagreus is just so fleshed out as a character. There's so much depth to him. He's got such a fantastic, memorable design. He's got so many different relationship dynamics with the other characters. And you go through so many different journeys with him because each playthrough just feels so totally different. And yeah, I think Zagreus is definitely one of those characters who he really stays with you after the fact and very much has that AAA appeal of he's got so much lore to him. He's got such a fun personality because I think personality is such a key thing to get right in games and it doesn't always go. But Zagreus, he's got that kind of like sarcastic charm to him that really, really works for his character. And I love seeing his relationships develop with the others, especially with his dad and with his mum and with his brothers and stuff and his many lovers. So I think, I really love Zagreus.
I agree with that. Like, there's very few like indie protagonists that actually like hit the nail on the head and actually give a good protagonist role that isn't just silent protagonist or just placeholder mascot sort of character. Zagreus is one of those that actually has a bit of substance to them. Now, I did write down Hades, but I didn't write down Zagreus. I wrote down like just the ensemble cast because I think
basically all of the characters in that are brilliant. Like Meg as well is fantastic. Like, yeah, literally all of them are so great.
Yeah, I mean, Zagreus on his own, I don't know. There's sometimes I find him a bit like obnoxious.
Oh, I like his arrogance. He's arrogant in a cool way. I like him.
But in amongst like the whole ensemble cast, it's a very strong, well-written game. That's why, like, I don't necessarily like roguelites, but I like that because it's like well-written. It constantly evolves. Like you feel like you're getting something every time, so it's cool.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I would say like every single character in that game is so purposeful, so well developed that like and Dionysus as well. Like you gotta love Dionysus in Hades. He's got such fun personality to him.
Well, I like the little skeleton that you batter as well.
Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah, I still haven't yet. I've like yet to play the game, but I've seen friends play it, and just I love seeing the little characters come on.
It's so good. It's so good.
The voice acting is really good, and the
the voice acting is superb, really good, and the music as well. Like the songs in it are so good.
Yeah. As an English person, do you rate like Zagreus's English accent?
Yeah, it never bothered me. I mean, to be fair, I guess I never really paid attention to it, so I'm not sure if I acknowledged that it was trying to be an English accent.
Yeah,
I can't picture it in my head right now. It never struck out to me as being off or anything, but I don't necessarily.
If you go back to it, it's an American doing an English accent.
So it's a North American person.
I don't think I picked up on the fact he was trying to be English, but I thought the accent sounds good. I like the accent, but I guess I never picked up that it was meant to be English. But I only really don't like it when it's bad. For example, in The Boys, Carl Urban's accent as Butcher in The Boys is such a bad. Like he's a fantastic actor in it, but his British accent is just terrible and it is really funny.
I think it's a lot of fun, but yeah,
I really love when you have like those American shows where you have like a character who's supposed to be British and they're not, because especially where Carl Urban's from New Zealand, so to Americans they probably sound quite similar because they're not American, whereas for British people we know that New Zealand / Australian could not be more different. So I guess with Zagreus, like I never picked up that it was trying to be British. Perhaps knowing that, I might be like, what's going on? But I think he sounds good. He's got like a very consistently deep, nice voice. It sounds good.
Oh no, I didn't like necessarily dislike it. It's just I immediately picked up that's a bad English accent.
Honestly, I didn't notice it was meant to be one.
Yeah, but in general, very good voice acting and just very interesting cast of characters. Another one I wrote down, which is like I wrote down the ensemble rather than individual characters, and JT's gonna have one of them in there, I'd imagine. But I just wrote down Undertale as an ensemble cast.
Oh, that was my next bit, and But obviously,
But-
this has already been done with Sans. You know, like that's already a character in like some of the like some other games and stuff like Smash Brothers and stuff. But sorry, I want to hear your bit, Callum.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's a very strong ensemble cast because everyone has their place. They all have their quirks and their charms. I don't think any of them particularly like stand out as like AAA appeal. Maybe
I
Sans
like when
because of like the
Flowey's revealed.
Oh,
yeah, but, like it is good. Like those, but it's all delivered in like moments rather
Yeah,
than
that makes
a
sense.
character being like a mainstay. Like there's
I get you.
Sans who is like kind of the mainstay of the entire game.
Yeah, of course.
Papyrus as well, I suppose. They're the most constant characters, but I wouldn't say
Mhm.
they have like super AAA appeal. But
I guess it's
as
more
a-
AAA feel like as an overall.
yeah, the
Yeah.
collective of characters, I think that's where the strength is because everyone has their moments and collectively, holistically, very, very strong. But
Yeah.
do you think personally, JT, that there is one that like has appeal beyond all others?
I mean, I think obviously Sans is already a big mainstay where like enough people know about him. If you hear that one voice clip of him talking, you know, like, oh, that's Sans, and a lot of people get excited about it. And just to see, like, I've seen so many fans take like the characters and do like animations with them, and it translates well into a lot of different media. And I've even seen like some bits of like people trying to like make it into a Cartoon Network kind of show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on like what kind of medium do you want to take it in. Like, would you make a more expensive version of that game, or would you take that character and put them in like in a different universe?
Yeah,
I've already said with Sans, like, okay, they've actually made him a Smash Brothers character in the game, or he's like the Mii Gunner skin. So they've already done that. I guess Sans would be the most memorable, but yeah, really it is a good supporting cast of characters that you could take anyone, Sans, Papyrus, Undyne, and they would work pretty well, I think.
suppose it depends on what way you take the question. Like I was saying earlier, if you take it as like, is it a well-written, like deep, very memorable character? Maybe yes, maybe no. But like, you could take it the other way and go, do you instantly know who that person is?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
if you take it that way, then yeah, I can absolutely see that. And there's probably things that I probably would have written down if I was viewing it that way as well in hindsight. 'cause, like,
It was a tough one to like interpret. So I kind of like interpreted it differently for my characters. Another one I had was we mentioned Spiritfarer a bit earlier, so I had Stella from Spiritfarer.
Oh.
And to be honest, like a lot of the characters in Spiritfarer are so well developed and recognizable. But I think the issue with these sort of side characters on it is because they're only on your ship temporarily. And like some people may not have got all the way through the game, then maybe not as memorable. Whereas Stella, she's got that iconic shape with the hat and everything, and her lore is like really nicely developed. I love when we get sort of the snippets of her past, especially with the Lily's update. It was so good.
it's one of those things that you get that very late in the game and there's a payoff to it. But like for the majority of the game, like they're just like the silent protagonist, as most people are. I wouldn't say.
But I say we also because in the platforming elements with Hades, we do sort of see her like in the images like of her life in the hospital and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I think she's got personality, even in like her dialogue choices and stuff. I think she has got that personality to her, and I also think she is like very recognizable. So for me, she does have that AAA appeal. But I can see where you're coming from for sure.
Oh no, I agree with Spiritfarer. I just think the side characters are the strength.
Yeah, no, I definitely like agree with you on that aspect. But I think for me, like, I guess I just really connected with Stella, so I guess it's like one of those personal things.
Yeah. I was more of an Atul man. He was a great.
Oh, I love Atul.
Uncle Dad,
He's
let's go.
my dude.
Gosh, they're
But-
so good.
So if I can jump in with one, like
Yes.
this is the one that was just top of my list. It was like this one, and then I have to think about the rest. But it was literally just like, okay, this one, and then okay, now we'll start. Kim Kitsuragi is he's the one.
I love
He's the
Kim.
best character.
Which game's that from?
It's from
Disco
Disco
Elysium.
Elysium.
Oh, of course it is.
Hari Dubois is your character, and then your partner is Kim Kitsuragi. And
Right.
the dynamic between Kitsuragi and Hari is amazing because he's like this really deadpan, really serious person, but he has a little bit of a fun side to him if you dig deeper. And the whole game is essentially you trying to like get his approval. Like that's the entire game.
Oh.
Just little glimmers of like he did a good job, and you're like, oh, I worked so hard for that.
Yeah, and the fun stuff, it's like you can make him dance or make him say certain things, like, but if you really have to work at him to like get those to do those kind of things, it's like yes.
Yeah, he's like really reserved because he's like very professional, but you can kind of ease him out gradually. Like you can catch him out on things. Like if you're like listening to his radio in his car and he's got it tuned in for some like mad like grime sort of thing, he's like, that happened by accident, and you're like, did it though? Little things like that. So I think Kim's awesome. I also like there's other characters there. I think Kim's probably the strongest character in the game. I think Kuno's also a good option as well for completely different reasons. But, I would go with Kim above all else. I was going to write Harry as well, but I think you can take him in so many directions based on what you do that it's very hard to say that he has that AAA appeal, because you might like him, you might not like him. It just depends on how you play.
I would say Harry. Actually, I personally think Harry would be a little bit stronger, just because like you can make him do some horrible things, but there's, I don't know, for some of his lines there's a lot of like kind of like compassion in there. Like he's such a broken failure of a person, but there's also like a lot of heart too. And I've seen people take him, like put him in like as a nice kind of happy-go-lucky guy in animatics. He's trying his best, but he's not doing too well. And
yeah,
I think there's a lot of like sympathy and just laughter at his like horrible situation. So
yeah, I just find the pathetic side of it's funny from my perspective. as a character, it's very like one note. It's like constantly try and fail and then try and fail again, constantly. But yeah, Kim is my guy. I love him. There was a T-shirt that I saw, and I considered buying it, but then I thought, don't know if that's really a good idea in a very politically charged country that I live in. So it was a T-shirt that said ACAB except Kim. And it's just Kim Kitsuragi.
That is brilliant, but yeah, you definitely don't want to risk it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Kim is great. I think everyone in the game, like if you play through it, everyone's gonna like end up liking Kim, because there's just so much charm, and just like having this level-headed person to all of this nonsense. Just and he's so supportive too. Like he'll get on Harry if he does something really awful, but for the most part, he's very understanding and sympathetic, and it's like just have that support crush, you know. He's
basically the straight man in the comedy, and he does it really, really well. It's like the Jason Bateman type. Just throw him in there and he'll do the job. Same sort of thing. But yeah, that was my definite one that I had written down before we even considered anyone else. But other ones I had written down, I put this one in based off of Sea of Stars. I put down Garl, because I think Garl brilliant.
I've only just met him, but like I can fully see how that would end up being a really strong character. I love him straight away.
I just love him so much.
He's so brilliant.
He carries the entire game on his back.
I can totally see that.
Just whenever he like just bounces into the scene, his little theme plays. Like, that's Garl. He's here.
Oh, I love Garl. He's so cool.
It's hard not to shout when he comes on. Like, yeah, let's go.
No, I literally did, because I was playing it earlier, and I was like, oh my god, yay! And my husband was like, what's going on? I was like, Garl's here. Like literally, he comes right at you. It's like, what's happened? What's so exciting? I was like, it's Garl.
Me and Murillo were talking about the game just as we were playing, and he was like picking my brain for his review, and he was saying to me, so one thing I'm finding is like I'm finding Garl really annoying, and I took it to heart, and I was like, how dare you
fire him on the spot, Cal.
Oh, no.
He was just like, I just find his like constant like enthusiasm annoying. I'm like,
he's so sweet. He's adorable.
Endearing.
We love
endearing
Garl.
is the word that I used, exactly. He's a lovely soul, and he is AAA quality and more.
Yeah, I've only known him like 5 minutes, and I would already die for Garl.
He's AAA in my heart.
Yeah, boy.
Exactly. I only actually have one more written down, because I approached it from a purely like narrative written perspective, and the argument I was going to make is outside of the ones I've written down. I feel like indies succeed more on like silent mascot protagonists, where you can like slap them on a poster and they go, that's Super Meat Boy or something like that, but like there's no substance to any of the characters for the most part, apart from the kind of stuff that you project onto them, which is like Melika's cup of tea. If I can customize their outfits, then they're special. But
that's why I like Stella so much. You can change colors of what she's wearing.
Well, there you go.
About that bit.
But the only other one I had written down was Madeline from Celeste, and
Okay.
yeah.
it's because it's a well written story, and like maybe she's not like the most like it's not the most incredible story in terms of like the depth. It's like a very simple message it's trying to deliver, but it does it really well. It does it in a really simplistic way that gets the point across, deals with the taboo subject as we dealt with in another podcast, and I think it has that level of appeal where you look at Celeste, or not Celeste, you look at Madeline, you go, oh, that's, well, people are going to go, oh, that's Celeste. It's kind of the same thing as like, that's Zelda, but it's like same sort of vibe. But yeah, they're the ones I had written down. But my general viewpoint is that I don't think indies have, for the most part, enough length and scope to give characters as much depth as they need to have that AAA appeal. Some of them succeed, but it's more in spite of what's there for them. The resources aren't available. Sometimes they inexplicably manage it somehow. But for the most part, it's like, we have to make a nice, colorful character that looks really good so people remember it, instead of going, okay, we're going to have to give this character substance.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from.
I
Disagree, but I see where you're coming from.
on the side, there's some characters in indie games can just be a little bit more interesting, or just like I want to know more about them, and just to have some kind of other media or medium that like expands upon that would be like a godsend. I would love that. I say I want to go into my next one, where I don't know if the game has enough traction or is like well received enough, but Nico from One Shot. If you're both familiar with that,
Not played that one.
I'm familiar with One Shot. I looked at the format of it, and I was like, I probably won't like that just by the look of it.
It's really sweet, where it's a RPG maker game where you're playing as kind of a cat person in a world that's dying, and you're
I've seen this one.
Yeah, you're teleported in this world, and it's your job to get Nico out of there. And there's a lot of kind of metatextual like puzzles and stuff. Like some of the puzzles you have to go into your documents and find a save file like on your computer and like to get this, or you have to make the game go into windowed mode to find the answer. And it's like, oh, that was clever. But I think Nico, like as the character, like because you're controlling them, but they're like reacting to what you're saying. Like you're playing as God, and then they're just Nico, and
Yeah.
and they're like constantly talking to you and asking you questions about yourself, and you can talk back to them. And they're just like a kid that's pretty innocent and kind of fun and quirky, and like I don't know, it's fun because they have moments where like they'll get sad and they'll miss their mom and start crying, and it's very endearing and sweet. But I think it'd be, just because they're such a cute character, it'd be fun to see more. But then again, they don't have enough. Like you guys didn't know what they are, so I don't think the game is probably going to fade a little bit more into myth. But it's a character I would love to see more of, and I'm sad that less people know about them. So, but it'd be fun to see them in AAAs.
I had a couple more on my list. So one pretty much all the characters in Bugsnax are awesome, but the one that everyone seems to love is Filbo Fiddlepie. Now, he's the mayor of the town, and everyone loves him because he's like doing his best and trying his hardest. I will be honest, when I first played Bugsnax, I had a problem with him because he was making me do everything that he should have done. And it's like, dude, get stay out of my business, okay? Let me do my thing. It's not my fault that everyone's left because you can't run a town. But like, I went into the subreddit for it, expecting everyone to share the same sentiment, and like everyone gets so downvoted if you say one word bad about Filbo. So I kept my mouth shut. But I will admit, he has got that AAA appeal. Even though I didn't like him at first, he kind of warmed to me on my second playthrough. I was like, you know what? He's a bumbling idiot and he needs my help. I can get behind that. And he does have a sweet personality. I just didn't like that he was always up in my business. But he's got a fun design. He's got a very cute personality. And to his credit, he does try. He's just useless. But he does give it his all.
I've played Bugsnax and I cannot remember most of the characters. Like
It's amazing.
The appeal is the snacks. I can remember some of the snacks, but I can't remember the people.
The Grumpuses are also amazing. Okay, the Grumpus. One thing I love about it is the diversity of them as well. Like you've got like non-binary Grumpuses, you've got like gay Grumpuses, the lesbian Grumpuses, you've got like vegan Grumpuses. There's all sorts of diversity stuff going on with them.
The only one I can vaguely remember is like the obnoxious kind of teenager one.
Ethica.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, because Filbo's like there right from the start, and he does his best to like guide you through it. He's not my favorite, but I do get why other people like him. I like I like literally all of them, to be honest. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. I don't like Fromdo. I've forgotten his name briefly. The one I love, Gramble. I love Gramble. He's the one who like doesn't want to he wants to be friends with all the bug snacks, and he hates that the others are eating them. He's so sweet. But yeah, I think all the characters in bug snacks. I think if that was a AAA game, I would play that game like, yeah, that makes sense. I could see why it was AAA. I think they're all so well designed and so well developed. And the last one on my list, I put purely to annoy you, Callum. So I was like, okay, so when I think of AAA games, what characters do I even think of? And I was like, okay, well, I think of Spyro. I think of Crash Bandicoot.
You're going to say Cow the Kangaroo, aren't you?
Oh. Oh, okay. In what regards where would you see it in the AAA for Cal the Kangaroo?
Because he is a mascot and it's a 3D platformer.
Okay.
And he is the face of the game. And although the voice acting is bad, he does have a personality.
Awful.
I will be honest, I did just say it just to make Cal mad.
Yeah, I know you don't believe that.
I was like, can I try and pretend that I believe it? It's like, no, I don't. But I just wanted to see Cal get mad.
I can see the argument if you said Hat Kid from Hat in Time or Super Lucky or
Hat Kid
one of the
Oh,
other ones.
Lucky
Hat
is
in Time
great,
was
actually.
that was the third next one I was gonna mention.
Yeah.
But
No. Lucky from Super Lucky's Tale. He's a solid, well-developed, cute character. But no, I just wanted to say KO just to see you unwind with madness.
He will not get to me. I will not rise to you.
You're too zen. You're too zen.
Far too chill. And whilst you were talking your absolute nonsense and silliness, I remembered another one.
oh,
What did you remember, Cal?
No, it's just because I love him, but I think this will translate to everybody. Lovely Linus from Stardew Valley.
Oh, yeah, we do love Linus.
yeah. Oh,
Linus.
Linus is great. Also, just to know more of what's going on with him and stuff, because they reveal he's related to the wizard, and there's a little bit more backstory towards him. It's just really sweet.
Don't
It's
give people
oh.
spoilers, JT.
Well, it's been out forever. We kind of. Oh.
I think they can get over it somehow.
Yeah, I think they'll cope. It's I thought that's like some major
Okay.
storyline.
I was thinking through all of them, and Linus is the only one that I was like, I would die for that man. I don't think any of the rest of them, but I think
I think the issue with the rest of them, it's like you're gonna have a preference either way. It's like, for example, I love Sam. I would die for him, but I wouldn't try and argue he has AAA appeal because I know that he's not everyone's favorite, which is madness. Because
No.
my sweet
Well,
little
I've actually
boy.
had this discussion from your lens.
Yeah.
We were discussing who everyone's favorite was, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Melika, she really likes Sam. They're like, which one's he? It's like,
Yeah.
you remember?
I've had that reaction a few times when I've tried to argue my case
Okay.
for Sam. But he's the reason I love him is he's the only one who is really nice for you right from the start. Everyone else takes a while to warm up. Sam is immediately super friendly, and that's what I love about him. And it's why I would never marry Haley in a million years.
Can I take the opposite end of it, where I actually grew to kind of like Shane, who was
Yeah, I
really
can
rude
see
to you
that.
and horrible to you the whole time.
He
Everyone
is
has
so
that.
mean.
Yeah.
But then you do his quest, and it's heartbreaking, and he has these scenes
Yeah.
where he's passed out drunk, and you have to bring him to the hospital, and then he'll take
No,
you out
his
to
story-
a game, and it's like, oh.
His story can be pretty brutal. I do slightly warm up to Shane. Still would never marry him,
Oh.
but I can be friends with him.
They all have their male, female, opposite, and Haley is his.
Yeah.
Haley
No,
is-
Haley's Alex's
Really miserable
opposite.
together.
Oh.
Oh.
Then
I'm
who's
trying to think.
Shane?
I think Shane's is
Would it be
I'm trying to
Penny?
think who Shane's is. No, Penny Sam's.
Hmm.
Is it Emily? Maybe.
Oh,
That makes no
Emily's
sense.
was Clint's, I thought.
No, Clint's not a bachelor. Clint
Oh,
just
well,
has
no.
a weird
I
crush
s-
on Emily.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it is Emily. I'm gonna. Who does Shane dance with at the flower dance?
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, that's a
that
good way to figure it
how
out.
that works.
That'll
Yeah.
be the quickest way to do it. Yeah, it's Emily.
Yeah.
Oh, so weird. They're so different.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because they were both the ones that were added in the update. So that's why that everyone else has a counterpart and they're kind of standalone. But yeah, no, because Haley's is Alex, who's the jock type dude.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they both suck.
Yeah, they do both suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, Linus for sure.
Yeah, Linus is you can't go wrong with Linus.
Yeah.
He's so adorable and you just immediately want to help him.
Oh. Yeah, I think some of the characters are great. I don't like all of the characters in the game. Some of them just kind of fell flat.
Oh, some of them I absolutely hate.
Yeah.
Merely.
I'm not a
gave-
big fan of George.
Oh, he's just a grumpy
but
old man.
you
Yeah, but I
find
don't
out-
like the grumpy part.
You find out that like he got injured in like a mining accident where like he fell on a stick of dynamite, and like that kind of blew him up a little bit. And it's like, oh man, that's kind of cool actually.
You would be quite grumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, another problem I have with George is if you play as a guy character and you marry Alex, George gets like really homophobic.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he gets
didn't.
like he eventually warms around, but he's like he has some really homophobic
Oh,
dialogues, like
goodness.
a man marrying a man. This would never happen in my day.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah. I'm in a lot of like Stardew forums, so I sort of see this kind of stuff. I know all the side stuff that I'm missing out from not being
Do you know
not being a male character.
I won't spoil it, but like, do you know who the like real father of Abigail is?
I know who you think the real father Abigail. I have a completely different theory.
Oh?
I don't think it's Abigail's father. I think it's Caroline's father.
That's also a good
Oh.
one. Yeah.
That makes
Interesting.
because we know that Abigail does dye her hair. Caroline never dyes her hair.
Mm.
And Caroline was
Oh.
originally from the area, moved away, and then came back. It makes far more sense for it to be Caroline.
When you
Everyone
lay it
thinks
out that way, it
Abigail.
does make more sense.
I thought it was the person who also has that same color of hair, and I was like, oh,
No,
there's a
no,
little
no,
bit,
no. Because I think because Abigail has those genes, but I don't think it's Abigail. I think it's Caroline.
Ooh.
Just the
Yeah.
tip of the iceberg.
There's a lot of fun laws and theories around Stardew Valley.
I was going to
It's-
ask as well because I'm not sure if any of you have played this, but I'm aware of the game having a very strong story, almost in spite of the gameplay, because I think that's where all the reviews said it kind of fell on its bum because it
Yeah.
wasn't very good. But the story was really good. Have either of you played Eastward?
That's the one where you like that explore. Basically, you essentially play as an NPC, right? And, like you're sort of kind of like going around like collecting stories from other people or something like that.
It's like this.
Yeah, I
decayed
know
world,
of
yeah.
it. I never played it. I do know of it. I heard it was too slow.
I was just wondering because it seemed like one of those where the character might stand out above all else, but I don't have that point of
No,
reference.
I saw it because it was on Game Pass for a while, but I never played it.
Yeah, and I assume it's never going to come to PlayStation now. So, well. But JT, keep telling us about. I imagine there's definitely more RPG
Yeah.
makers. You haven't even
I
mentioned
got
them more.
well, yeah, of course they're going to go into more. Where the cast of characters is great, and I think especially there's Aubrey, who's one of them, and Basil. And Basil is he's kind of a kid that he did some really messed up things, and just to have something that expands upon that. Although the thing is, I don't know if that could really be AAA because some of the stuff that happens in the game is very, very dark, and I don't know if like AAA is confident to do that. But then again, it's the game did such a good job animating some of the scenes and giving like a very like juicy amount of story to want to know more, but they still keep enough hidden from you. So to actually show that would just be heartbreaking. And then Basil's really good because he's the character that did some horrible things in the game that I still don't want to spoil. And then you can also show the character in the dream space going through things where he's kind of faces a lot of torturous fates in this place called Black Space, but also he's in a very comfortable space in Headspace, and you can alternate between having these like real world and dream world scenes, and I think that would like work really well if it was expanded upon. And then there's also Aubrey, who's like a complete different counterpart from her Headspace, where her Headspace is very cute, warm, and friendly, and then her real world is like kind of a monster where she's a bully to you and the rest of the people. And she comes around, but you find out more like, okay, she had a really awful home life that kind of shaped her upbringing. And I think, I don't know, to bring that into the AAA, like a lot of people could relate to that. And like the visuals are already so good that you wouldn't have to do too much to make it different, or like you want to come up with too much more to like realize that.
Yeah.
So I think that would be really cool, and I would love to see that. But then again, I don't know if AAA has the guts to do that. So
No, it doesn't seem very marketable.
Yeah.
It tends to be very much, we're going to make this a Hollywood movie, but you can play it. And then they marvelize it and they give them quips.
God, I gotta love those Marvel quips.
Haha, I'm a
they hurt.
hero and I'm so cool.
Oh, I love Marvel movies, but those kind of clips do get a bit annoying after time. Because it's like always so predictable.
Yeah.
It's like, is this supposed to be a big one? It's like, because we're the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like, yeah, but you were the Guardians of the Galaxy in the first 2 movies as well.
Oh, I love those so much growing up, but I wanted to like do something a little bit different where like I'll still find it funny and I'll still laugh because if it's well written, if it's a good joke, like okay. But
I think the
it's so
only one I ever
formulaic.
worked with was Spider-Man because he was like the sarcastic kind of taking the piss whilst he beat you up sort of vibe. And Deadpool as well, I suppose. But
Yeah.
everyone else they're a bit more like serious, so it doesn't really work.
Did you guys ever play the Spider-Man PlayStation 1 games?
I
Sure did.
did
Those
not.
were the
doing
days.
narration and everything.
Yeah, boy.
They were
Loved
very
them.
good.
Also, I wanted to mention just because I haven't played enough of the game to really know about it, but I've seen them everywhere. Is the Hat Kid from Hat in Time? Just because they seem so.
I really want
very
to play
easily
Hat in
marketed.
Time. I like the idea of wearing lots of hats.
So I played through about half of it and I went off the boil. I don't know if I'm just kind of out of sync with platformers at the minute and need a little bit of time off, but I just kind of got through it and was like, all the levels are very high concept. So you can't just like turn your brain off. You actually have to do a bit of thinking. I'm like, ooh, this rubs right up against what I want from the platformer. So but it's
Fair
also
enough.
a silent protagonist as well. So it's more about them being like pops on the screen rather than a big name character.
I've just
Yeah,
seen
like
their
I've heard as well that
images.
the movement isn't that smooth. I literally just want to play it to wear lots of hats. I like that there are lots of hats in it.
Now,
That's that's the
what
draw.
also this might sell it. It is also co-op.
Oh,
Interesting.
It's quite poor in terms of the functionality.
Problem with that is that Matt doesn't always want to play the same games as I do. He's more of a your kind of games kind of guy. Actually, no, that's not even true. He's more of a AAA guy, if anything. Actually,
That's absolutely disgusting.
I know. It's like, what's wrong with them? Like, if we played It Takes Two together, so we do sometimes do co-op games, but
okay.
yeah, he doesn't play Child of Light with me, which is sad because I bought it specifically because I wanted to play it with him, and he's like, nah.
Oh,
That sucks.
I know.
I mean, you're just gonna have to play Baldur's Gate or something.
Ugh, no, I'll find a different friend and play Child of Light. I'm sticking to my indie games.
oh. Also, Callum, I want to ask. I know I asked when you were first playing Hat in Time, but did you ever get to the kind of horror part of it?
Yeah, so I think I know what you're talking about. I got literally to that, and that's when I stopped. You get to a world where you essentially meet this like demon character and you sign away your soul and you need to work for him to get your soul back, and it's a little bit more dark, but it's like comically dark. It's not horror.
Okay. Because I just saw a bit where like you're being chased by this dark entity and like there's very loud noise. I'm like, oh, that's
No. There's no horror
Okay.
involved. It's literally like cartoon horror, like Scooby-Doo.
oh. I did kind of like that there was a little bit what I thought was a subversion that made it like a little bit more to it, but at the same time, I think it looks iconic enough that could easily be expanded into AAA.
See, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to. I'm in a position now where I also have Super Lucky's Tale sitting there, and I'll probably
New.
play it
Don't
first.
bother with Super Lucky's Tale. Play new Super Lucky's Tale.
Well, I
The
mean,
first
that's
one's not worth it.
That's what I meant. New Super
Okay.
Lucky's Tale. I don't think they sell Super Lucky's Tale. I think they just sell the new one. At least on PlayStation anyway.
On Game Pass, they're both there.
Well, regardless, I have that one, and I'll probably jump into that quicker because it seems like a more just straightforward A to B, collect the stuff, and that's all I really want.
Oh man, but I think I'm almost reaching the end of it. I would almost want to talk about Lisa the Painful because there's the whole story of gathering a gang of characters, and the campfire stuff had a lot of side interactions that gave the characters a lot more depth. Or there's silly interactions where if you bring a certain like a batch of characters together, they'll start throwing a rave like while you're sleeping. Just see a scene of that, and I think to have something like kind of animation to like show you getting all the characters would be cool. But it's not. The game isn't well known enough that like they couldn't do it. But it would be so much fun to see.
You know what? It's pretty well known on this podcast, courtesy of yourself.
Well, yeah, yeah. But beyond that, I don't think it's garnered enough attention that it would get any more reception from people.
No, you're right, and you're banned from mentioning it anyway. So
okay,
you
no
broke a
more,
rule.
no more. I was just giving an example. Oh, I did. I did
Duly
break the
noted,
ban.
but rejected.
Oh.
But yeah, that unless there is more to jump in on, that is our
I'm good.
Yeah,
Indies. Oh,
actually
yep.
maybe okay. Do we count Minecraft anymore? I'm not sure if we
No.
do. I was gonna say
It's
like
indie in nothing but name. Like
okay,
I would say like there is nothing about Minecraft that still counts as
because
indie.
I would say Minecraft Steve, like that
Yeah,
character
but
is.
I don't think he
But yeah,
counts as
no.
indie anyway. Close.
No, that's a hard sell. I'm actually at the minute doing an article for our site. Mostly if someone comes to our site to figure out what we will cover and what we won't, because I'm doing what is an indie game, our interpretation, that is the article. And one of the things I'm trying to get across is why Minecraft is not like putting that in words. And it's basically just because it's worth like billions of pounds. Like it just
Right.
it
Also, it's got
doesn't.
backing from major publishers now, has it not?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Microsoft
I was
bought
gonna
it.
say, I'm pretty sure Microsoft bought it, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah.
I was like, if you're owned by Microsoft, you can't
Yeah,
really,
you're not really an NDA game
unless you're
anymore.
part of their specific indie branch. Like,
Yeah, and the way they're carrying that game as well. Like I recently done like a news article on it because I thought it was interesting, and it's technically indie, and it was a slow news day, so threw it in there. But it was quite interesting because like they were putting together like some licensing agreement stuff, but it was really sneaky. They basically put together this licensing agreement saying, see all those servers that you have worked on and they're technically your private property, you cannot use it for your monetary gain. They're not yours anymore. We can take them if we want them. And they just didn't tell their player base. They just basically slipped that under the rug and said, we want your server, we'll take it from you. I just thought that was lousy.
Oh,
wow.
It's just not how indie developers would behave. Very corporate.
I remember
Mm-hmm.
as a kid there was like when the game was still indie for the most part and people had servers they ran, there'd be stuff like, oh, if you want to have this role in the server, you can have this tier, like pay this amount of money. And it's like it would give you a role in the server, and it was kind of cute, and it was mostly a throwaway thing, but I always thought it was adorable, and it's sad to think that you can't do that anymore. It's like, oh, that was such a fun part of it.
Well, our RIP to the indies that are they've outgrown their label, and it's disgusting, and we hate them for it.
How could they?
But yeah, that was our big discussion on indie characters with AAA appeal. In short, there are quite a few, and there are also quite a few that are very eye-catching, and that's basically the same thing. But no Cow the Kangaroo. No, it's not happening. We just, no.
I concede. I concede.
Okay, well, that is everything we're going to be discussing this week. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Just a little bit of admin before we go. IndieGameCulture.com. Have you heard of it? We do indie reviews. We do indie news. We do indie guides. We do indie everything. Anything you could possibly want is on that site. So go look at it. We've got all the stuff for Sea of Stars. There's so many guides there. Blasphemous 2. Lots of stuff. And we will be having some other stuff on there very, very
On
soon.
previews from Gamescom.
Yeah, I believe your one for Jusant is already up.
Yep, Jusant's up. You should have Cocoon up soon, and then I'm working on a couple more for it as well.
There you go. You're going to
There
get
you go.
behind
And the
scenes.
interviews as well. You're gonna have all sorts.
Lots of stuff in the
then-
pipeline.
If you
And
have any
also-
trouble with the blasphemous bosses, I'm here. I got you covered.
JT has you covered. And just one other thing as well. If you could give us 5-star reviews on the podcast app of your choice, we would really appreciate it. We would pay you in money, but we don't have any. So how about smiles and self-esteem instead? We'll tell you that you're pretty and all that stuff.
You're amazing.
You're the
There you
most
go.
special human beings that ever walked the earth.
Well, they haven't done it yet.
Well, I'm sorry, for when they do, the ones that have, you're most special.
It's a teaser for later.
Our
And
undying love.
everyone else that hasn't done it, you could be if you wanted to.
One click of a button is all it takes to earn our love forever.
But until 2 weeks when we can love you again, we're going to leave you. So goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.
See everybody.